Hello and welcome to the Actual Tech Media MegaCast. My name is Jess and I am excited to be here with you all today. But before we jump into our content, I have some basic information to cover with you. Let's kick off our day here today by taking a quick tour of your audience console. And we're going to start with the questions window. Now, if you haven't already said hi, there is a whole audience of cool humans out there, so reach out and give a wave to the other members of the Actual Tech Media community. Also, keep in mind that if you have any tech issues today, a browser refresh is going to fix just about anything. But if those tech gremlins are clinging on, no problem. Just throw a comment in the question section and our crew will be there to help. We also want this to be an informative webinar for you. So throughout today's MegaCast, we hope you'll get engaged and ask all of your burning questions. Not only will we have team members responding to you over live chat, we will also have a dedicated Q&A session at the end of our presentation. And if we do not get to your question during the webinar, don't worry, because the awesome experts that we have here with us today will be following up with you after we wrap. All right, next up on our tour, there are going to be lots of cool aha moments in the MegaCast today, and if you want to share those with your community, we've made it nice and easy for you. You can use the Twitter button right there in your audience console, and the hashtag for today's MegaCast will automatically get added to your post. And our last stop on this guided tour, be sure to check out the Handouts tab for some resources and takeaways from our speakers here today. We have an info pack collection of solution briefs, white papers, data sheets, free trials, ebooks, upcoming webinars, and more. So many great resources, so be sure to go explore. And if that wasn't enough fun, we also have some exciting prizes we will be giving away throughout the MegaCast today. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about those later on, but a few quick reminders for you all. You do need to be in attendance here live at the webinar in order to qualify to win a prize, and we will follow up with all winners after we wrap the MegaCast today. Now, all winners must submit an IRS Form W-9 to Actual Tech Media, and all winners must meet the Actual Tech Media prize terms and conditions. Now, hey, if you're not sure what those are, no problem. You can find the full T's and C's in that Handouts tab. Again, just click into the Handouts section, scroll down to the bottom, and you'll find the full T's and C's waiting for you there. Now, the absolute most important thing to remember here today is that we love getting all your insightful questions during these live webinars. In fact, we love it so much that we have a special additional prize for all you inquisitive folks out there. In today's MegaCast, we will be giving away a prize for the best question asked in each of our sessions. Now, the expert speakers and teams will review all the questions asked after the webinar, which means that even if your question does not get read out in a live session, there is still a chance to win. If you are a lucky winner here today and would like to donate the value of your prize, we have several wonderful organizations that we partner with. So let us know when we follow up about winning, and we will get that rolling for you. Again, we are so happy to have you all here with us live at the MegaCast today, and we want to keep that good feeling going. So let's connect on social. Reach out and connect with Actual Tech Media on Twitter and LinkedIn. We have lots of great content, and we always want to hear from you. Now, if you're looking for more awesome content right away after we wrap, you want to jump right in, make sure that you subscribe to the Actual Tech Media channel on YouTube. Another fun way to win a prize and to grow this awesome community is to refer an industry friend or coworker to the Actual Tech Media webinar series. Now, you're going to find a link to do that right there in that Handouts tab, and you will also be automatically redirected after we wrap today. Now, both you and your coworker, your friend, could win a prize, and we actually hold those drawings every month. So be sure you refer somebody awesome before you head out today. It could quite literally be a win-win situation. Next, we have a cool opportunity for the decision makers out there to get connected with new and emerging tech and innovative vendors. Here's how it works. All you need to do is click on the link in your Handouts tab and fill out the application. Then the Actual Tech crew will match you with some vendors that we think you should be chatting with based on your needs. There will also be fun opportunities that you can choose to join in, like surveys or test running new solutions, extended demos, and so on. You'll get some chances to win extra prizes, you'll chat with great people, and you will learn about the hottest new trends in tech. So be sure to apply, or hey, send that link to a decision maker in your team. Now, I want to take a quick minute here to remind you about one of my favorite resources, and that is ransomware.org. You can find everything you need to know about ransomware, how to prepare, how to prevent and recover. The site is jam-packed with information, helpful tips, checklists, strategic approaches, case studies, everything you need in one place. So wherever you are in your ransomware preparedness journey, there is something for you at ransomware.org. So go check it out and start exploring. All right, I have one more exciting resource I have to tell you about today, and that is the Gorilla Guide Book Club. It's going to give you access to free enterprise IT books authored by top industry experts, so you can stay up to date on trending enterprise technology. And yes, these books are going to work on your Kindle, your mobile device, and they are completely free, super easy. You can download these awesome resources at gorilla.guide, and there's a link for you in the handouts tab as well. Okay, well, we've covered a lot of important things already, and I don't know about you all, but I am excited to dive in, so let's get rolling.
All right, so kicking things off, a reminder that today's topic is protecting SaaS applications, security and data protection considerations. And this is such a cool conversation because it is everything, everywhere, all of the tech topics in one topic, because you can really SaaS up anything these days, right? You can enable this level of agility, of flexibility, of rapid growth that many of us could really only have dreamed of. But the introduction of SaaS introduces a whole new set of risks as well. Security concerns, and yes, cost reduction is there in that pro column, yeah. But what about cost sprawl? And we're going to talk a little bit more about that later on in our keynote. Whether we like it or lump it, and hey, for the most part, we love it, SaaS is, as they say, eating the world. So it's here to stay, it's getting bigger, and that's great, but it's important to take some time to really understand it. And that means understanding the risks as well as the opportunities. So we're going to dive into it today. We're going to get sassy, not the other kind of sassy, the one with a Y, with SaaS. And to guide us through this exciting conversation today, we are joined by a whole host of innovative companies that have sent their top experts to share some tips, tricks, ideas, best practices, and more. Today, we're going to be chatting with Synology, Spanning, Rubrik, Metallica, Commvault Venture, Hewlett-Packard Enterprise, Nudge, and Haiku. Such a cool group of humans all gathered together today. That is a powerhouse crew, and I cannot wait to dive in. So let's get things rolling. All right, here we go. I'm going to pause very quickly to introduce myself. If you missed it at the top, again, my name is Jess Steinbach, and I am a moderator here at Actual Tech Media. I'm also a little under the weather, if you couldn't hear from my voice, so bear with me a little bit today, folks. I am going to try not to cough in any of your ears. Luckily, I'm safely ensconced in the home studio, so I'm keeping my germs to myself. Now, my friends and fellow moderators, the wonderful Scott Becker and David Davis, will be joining us here on a live chat today, so we'll be chatting with them throughout the day. I also mentioned some prizes a little bit earlier, and I want to come back around to those because who doesn't love awesome prizes? All right, so today on the MegaCast, you could win one of 4 Apple iPhone 14 Plus phones. That's a tongue twister. One of 4 Apple iPhone 14 Plus phones. Say that 10 times fast. Plus a $300 Amazon gift certificate that we will be giving away every 30 minutes. Now, I'll remind you again that you do need to be here live in attendance at the MegaCast in order to qualify to win those prizes. If you're wondering about the full T's and C's, they're linked for you in the handouts tab. But we're going to keep things rolling and get started on our MegaCast today because we've got a lot of great stuff to dig into. And in order to, take that step forward, we're going to take a quick step back. We're going to take a little wander down memory lane with one of my absolute favorite humans and experts, and that is, of course, my fellow moderator here at Actual Tech Media, Scott Becker. Now, Scott has been in the SaaS world for quite a while. He'll tell us a little bit more about that. But let's hang tight just one moment. I'm going to get Scott on out here with me.
All right. Hey, Scott. Thanks so much for joining us here on the MegaCast.
Hey, Jess, good to be here.
Well, I know our conversations are always a lot of fun, Scott, and I always learn something. And today we're talking about SaaS, which I think is a really good time because it's just such a big topic. And I wanted to start by looking at the future because we're going to be hearing about a lot of cool things from companies today that are building the SaaS future. And I found this neat article from datapine.com, and this is a really cool blog post talking about the top SaaS trends that we can expect in 2023. So you can see on the screen here, we've got artificial intelligence, machine learning, of course, SaaS security as a priority, vertical SaaS, data as a service, growing needs for API connections, migration to PaaS, focus on customer retention and churn, it's a big one, SaaS market consolidation, more SaaS super apps to emerge, Cool. Anything supercharged, always down for that. Low code capabilities and centralized analytics. So these are some pretty cool trends. And Scott, you and I were thinking about this kind of where we're headed, and it's always fun to think about that next step and future iterations. But I think a lot of times, when we're talking about that, where we're going, that old saying, you need to know where you've been in order to get where you want to go. So, Scott, you've been talking SaaS for a long time, and I was wondering if you could give our audience a little bit of a look, maybe a trip back down where we've been with SaaS in order to connect back to these trends that we can expect for the future.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. I have been looking at SaaS for a long time. In fact, what we've got here is one of the first issues of a magazine that I was the editor of. And this is back, if you can see that date there, it's March 2006. And down in that subhead there is software as a service. This was kind of a goofy illustration of Bill Gates and one of his big lieutenants, Ray Ozzie, navigating the waters of SaaS, trying to figure out how they were going to change all their models. I've also put in, for context, a fresh-faced me from 2006 there with my editor's column. So that was a long time ago.
That's a celebrity sighting right there.
But as a way of saying it's been around for a long time. I mean, it's 2023, so that's 17 years ago. Is my math right?
That's good math. That was fast math.
Thanks. So what I wanted to just level set on is, all the way back then, almost, we had NIST definitions. And so the NIST Cloud Computing Reference Model, and there's three big AAS buckets, and that's with two A's. But so you've got infrastructure as a service, and that's how AWS came out. They really pioneered the market. And then you've got platform as a service, and that's like the original Microsoft Azure. It's like IaaS, but it's got the operating system built in. So it's even one more level that the provider is taking care of rather than you having to worry about on the shared security model. Mm-hmm. And then the other category is software as a service, and that's really what we're talking about today. And that's things like Salesforce and Microsoft 365 and stuff like that. So, in all that time, I knew the concept of SaaS had matured and fragmented into a bunch of sort of sub-acronyms, and we've all heard a lot of them. But what stunned me is how many there are. So to get ready to talk about this today, I found this report from the Object Management Group that came out last June. And it's a glossary for XaaS, which, that anything is a service, X like an algebra. And I'm just going to show you a few of the categories that they came up with in their list. And so what I want to do is I'll say what the acronym is, and then I'll give everybody out there in the audience just a second to think about if they know that one, and then we'll show it. So,
ooh, I'm excited about this, and play along too. If you guys out there have you think feel free to post that in the chat there. Scott, should we do it?
Let's do it.
Okay, I'm ready.
So this first one here is AAAS. I don't know how you would pronounce that. It's hard to say three A's in a row, but see if you can come up with that one. I like it. All right. Okay.
Ta-da.
So that's analytics as a service. I know I wouldn't have gotten that one. If anybody in the audience got that one, I'm impressed. The next one is AIaaS, and I bet this one will have a high hit rate out there.
Yeah, everyone's talking about this. Ta-da!
Yep. Artificial intelligence as a service. Next one, BPaaS. So that's business process as a service. This next one, I'm not sure how you pronounce it. CCaaS, CCaaS. I've seen it a lot, but I'm not sure how to say it. Contact center as a service.
I like CCaaS.
Is our next one.
Okay. Ta-da.
So that's continuous monitoring as a service. Then we've got DaaS, which, remember, this is a SaaS one. So it's data as a service. There's also one in infrastructure. We'll show you here in a sec. FaaS. Mm-hmm. Finance as a service. Then CaaS with a K.
Yeah, good one.
Impressed if anybody got that one. Knowledge as a service.
10 points for Gryffindor if you got that one.
LAS.
Oh, a little Scottish one for us.
Logging as a service. MAS. Monitoring as a service. And we've just got a few more here. MLAS or MLAAS.
That one, hopefully people know. Yeah.
Yeah, it's another hot one. Machine learning as a service. This next one is pretty common too. UCaaS. Unified Communications as a Service. And finally, for the SaaS categories, VAS. So it's video conferencing as a service. So that's just a sampling of the SaaS terms. OMG, which sounds funny now. It's like a what's the name for those terms where just like the abbreviation that you use in a text?
Abbreves, Scott. It's abbreves.
Abbreves?
Abbreves.
So object management group is what I mean to say. They came up with 48 terms in all. Now that's across SaaS, IaaS, and PaaS. And there's a bunch that they excluded for being hype rather than real. So I was just blown away by how many terms there are out there. Let's take a quick look at some of the others in IaaS and in PaaS. So on the IaaS side, you've got backup as a service, desktop as a service, database as a service, disaster recovery as a service, and high performance computing as a service. Again, this is just a sampling. I think we'll hear about some of these today. And then I included some of the nasty past terms, like malware as a service. And if you've been on a lot of our other events, you've probably heard a lot about ransomware as a service, those groups that are just selling ransomware services. But, the space has really been maturing fast. And I'm looking forward to seeing what some of the thought leaders in the space have to tell us about their offerings today.
Yeah, and I think we're going to get a lot of that insight from our upcoming conversations. I can't wait to jump in, but it has been fun getting on that raft with you, Scott, and paddling down the rapids a little bit from the start of that river. And I'm trying to come up with, is webinars as a service? Can we make WAS? Are we we're part of the WAS empire here, Scott? So
I like it.
Well, let's see what else we can discover on this awesome and exciting MegaCast. Thanks so much, Scott. It's been a ton of fun chatting with you, as always.
Thanks, Jess.
All right. Well, I have to say there are some awesome other SaaSes coming in from you all. I think Liam Neeson as a service is my favorite. Well done. That's a good one that Scott and I had not thought of. I also want to thank you to everyone out there who sent me well wishes on being a little bit down in health at the moment. Thank you to Adam and to Con. I think Amy and Russell, I really appreciate all of you sending nice thoughts my way. Being here with all of you makes every day better and sunnier, so I am feeling better already. And we have a question for all of you out there. What is your time frame for adding new or updating existing IT solutions at your company? So again, today we're here to talk about SaaS. So when are you thinking about implementing some of the data protection and SaaS strategies that we're talking about today? Now, if you don't know, that's fine. Just click not sure, and that's a great place to start this conversation out. All right. Well, we're going to keep things moving along pretty quickly here because we have, I don't know if you looked at the schedule, but we have a big day. We have a lot to cover today. So I want to make sure that we keep things moving. So I'm going to switch away from that poll. Hopefully you had time to answer. And we're going to jump into our very first presentation. And we are definitely kicking things off on a high note here with the Synology crew. So our very first expert presenter today on the MegaCast, Trevor Peterson, Technical Account Manager at Synology. Trevor, I'm so excited to welcome you to the MegaCast today. I know you've got some really cool stuff to cover with all of us. So I'm going to hand the mic on over to you, and I'll see you in a bit for some Q&A.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for taking time to join us today. Organizations around the world are leveraging SaaS applications to drive business enablement. using tools to create, share, and collaborate on multiple types of customer and company data. SaaS data protection, therefore, has become one of the top priorities for many security and IT teams. Today we'll be covering the importance of backing up SaaS data and what can be done to protect valuable data that businesses are storing in cloud SaaS environments like Google Workspace and Microsoft 365. At Synology, we offer a unified software and hardware solution that allows organizations to store their data, back up their data, as well as many other solutions. These solutions are used throughout various industries and within organizations of all sizes. They play an important role in backup and disaster recovery plans, especially with ransomware attacks becoming increasingly prevalent. This is a factor for many different endpoints, but we'll be focusing on software as a service. So the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic accelerated the adoption of different cloud service providers such as Microsoft 365 and Google Workspace, who host email servers, file drives, collaboration services, chat services, and much more. Really any services on the infrastructure that allows companies to not manage those things themselves. Now, many companies either expanded what services they used or migrated over from other solutions. The movement towards these cloud platforms means that a lot of critical business data that's generated lives up in the cloud. Here are just some of the examples of that data, which includes things like Exchange, Teams, SharePoint, and OneDrive. There's lots of data that we see and interact with in our everyday lives, but there's also a lot on the back end as well that many people don't even realize exist. An example of this is student records and data from schools and universities that store all of their files in the cloud. Some teams may interact with that data, but it also may just be archived there. Overall, there's just an immense amount of data living in the cloud across all these platforms. But let's look at how to protect and not lose all of this vital data. Here's a screenshot from Microsoft's page where they cover best practices and their recommendations. This point isn't readily available and blasted right on the front of their site, so it's not necessarily widely known information. The key component here is that Microsoft themselves recommend you regularly back up your content and data and that you have a regular backup plan. Even though Microsoft and these other providers recommend regularly backing up your data, you may be wondering what some examples are where backups would be needed. Here are some common examples that we'll go over. A big and pretty scary one is malicious deletion, which is where someone with malicious intent, where maybe someone wants to do harm to the company, deletes data. There's also long-term archiving, where a company may need to store data for long periods of time for reasons deemed necessary by the organization or possibly certain regulations. So let's look a little more into malicious deletion, and we'll look at a case of this actually happening. A news article got released with this headline: a resentful employee went in and deleted 1,200 Microsoft 365 accounts and ended up getting prison time. Something like this doesn't just randomly occur, so let's examine what exactly happened to lead up to all of these accounts getting deleted. This company wanted to migrate their email, calendar, and file storage over to Microsoft 365. They hired a consulting firm who sent over a consultant to assist with this migration. The company wasn't really happy with this consultant, and they didn't like how this consultant was performing, and they ended up complaining to the consulting firm to let them know of their dissatisfaction. That consultant ended up getting fired. So a few months went by and the consultant used his knowledge of the previous infrastructure to hack into these accounts with admin permissions. Because he now had access to these admin permissions, he was able to delete 80% of the users across the entire organization. So let's look at the results of this malicious deletion. Now imagine you get into work and sit down ready to start your day. You start up your computer, log in, and see that everything you need to do your job is gone. Your email account, meeting, calendars, documents, and directories. Well, that's exactly what happened to this company once the 1,200 accounts were deleted. Even their contacts lists were deleted, which sounds like a pretty menial thing, but this meant that they had no names, email addresses, or phone numbers saved. They weren't able to reach out to get in touch with their customers and their vendors and customers couldn't reach them either. They got some stuff back up and running within a couple of days, but they had IT problems for months afterwards because they were never able to fully recover their data. Now, this wasn't some inexperienced company with outsourced IT. They had a team of seasoned IT professionals. But as we've seen in the news recently, pretty much every company is susceptible to attacks in one way or another. But how could they have prevented this or addressed this issue sooner? They could have and should have had backups in place. Having these in place would have allowed them to neutralize the attack by getting passwords changed in these accounts that the consultant was getting into and effectively lock him out. Some damage would have been done, but not nearly to the extent of what actually happened. After that, they could have taken a step back and assessed the damage. They could have looked at what data and accounts should be recovered first. For example, mission-critical data or accounts for employees who need to be in communication with important clients. They would also want to test their recovery from the backups they had to make sure the recovery is working properly. The last step they'd want to take is to restore the data. One option that's available across most backup platforms is a bulk restore. So instead of going in one by one to each account, they could restore all of their accounts, mailboxes, contacts, and files at once. Now that we've taken a look at this case study, let's learn more about a solution they could have used. So at Synology, we have many different software packages that allow you to back up different endpoints. One of these packages is called Active Backup for Microsoft 365, which, as you can guess, backs up Microsoft 365. It's completely license-free when using our hardware and allows you to centrally manage and back up your M365 data. It provides all of the benefits of cloud to local backup, like more control over your data and the ability to access data without an internet connection. So let's take a look at the solution in practice. So now let's go over a demo of how people can restore items that were maliciously deleted and removed from their Microsoft 365 account. So for this example, we're in John Snow's Microsoft 365 account. Now let's imagine that his coworker gets very angry with him and knows he has a presentation due the next day. This coworker goes into his OneDrive account, deletes his presentation, knows that there's a recycle bin, so also deletes it from there. Now luckily, John's organization has his data backed up and either an admin or John himself can go on and find his presentation to restore it. So let's go over to the Active Backup for Microsoft 365 Recovery portal. So this is the Active Backup for Microsoft 365 Recovery portal, and as you can see in the top right, this is John Snow's account and associated with the backup task that his organization had set in place. So let's go over an example here of how that data for his presentation can be recovered back into his account. So here you can see on the left side of where you can select certain data. If you click up here, you can restore all of this data back into John's account, but for this example, we're just going to choose his presentation. So we can either choose export and download it to our computer, but we do want John to have access to it, so here we're going to click restore. This is where there are a few different options. A new folder can be created where it can be easily found. It will be named restore and then a few numbers afterwards. Other than that, it can go back to the original folder and either overwrite existing items or skip those existing items and join them. You can also restore sharing permissions here. A big thing to notice here is that you can restore it to different users. So let's say that someone maliciously completely deleted John's account. You can actually create a new user on the Microsoft 365 account and restore it to that user, so the data won't be completely gone and John can get back to work. So here, we're just going to export it to a new folder to make it easily findable, and then we will see it pop up on the Microsoft 365 side. So now we're back in John Snow's Microsoft 365 account, and we can go up here to My Files and see that this new folder has been created called Restore. If we click in this Restore folder, we can see that John's presentation is back, and he can now do this presentation in front of his executives. So this is a great example of how backups and the ability to easily restore data can be incredibly useful within organizations. So you can see how Active Backup for Microsoft 365 allows for a recovery method against malicious deletion. Now let's look at why backups may be beneficial for companies who need to store data for long periods of time. This is called long-term archiving. Long-term archiving refers to, as you may have guessed, archival data. This is where data is typically stored and either rarely accessed or in some cases never accessed. Some examples are old legal case files or health data that organizations are required to keep for whatever time period is set by the state that the organization is in. Since the data won't be frequently accessed, there's not a lot of need to keep it up in the cloud and where the data is readily available and adding to their storage costs. Let's go over a case study where this archiving was a requirement. So this is a vocational college with 18,000 students enrolled and 1,000 faculty members. They use Microsoft 365 services for their email, files, and different sites. As you can see, there are 60,000 email accounts and 30,000 OneDrive accounts, which are much higher numbers than the 19,000 people that were attending or working at the college at that point in time. The college had to keep all of these extra accounts because of where they were located. The regulations in place required them to keep their data for the current and former students and faculty for a certain number of years. This was causing the monthly fees to build up since the subscription licenses were per user. If they stopped paying for the subscriptions of the former students and faculty, that data would then be deleted. Because of this, they wanted a more cost-effective way to store the data as well as a way to have more ownership of the former student and faculty data. It's important to note that Microsoft has a policy where they only retain your data for 90 days after a subscription ends. After that, the account is disabled and the data is completely gone. So let's say there's an error with billing or someone purposefully or accidentally ends a subscription. Then, there's only 90 days to catch that mistake and make the appropriate fixes. Let's look at the options this vocational college had for retaining their data. To retain the Microsoft 365 data for former users and students, there are two primary options. The first option is to keep all of the data in Microsoft 365, which would give them the benefit of having all of their data in one centralized location where it's very easy to access. The downside on this option is that there is a fee per user, which can scale the cost very quickly. However, there are special types of licenses called archival licenses, which are offered through certain cloud providers. These are licenses where you retain the user's data, but the users don't have access to the cloud services. These are available at a reduced price when compared to standard licenses. For example, a regular license may cost $10, while an archival license may cost $1. but that doesn't mean that this option can be considered cheap. For example, in this case, the college still needed thousands of licenses. Now the second option is to export all of the former user data to a third-party solution. With this option, the former user data wouldn't be in the same location, so the ease of access wouldn't be quite the same. But the cost is now based on storage space instead of being based on the amount of users. This means that there are no recurring monthly fees. So the college started out with everything in Microsoft 365, including archival licenses for all of their former users. They wanted to export all of their data to a third-party solution because of the lower relative costs. The backup data and user information from the archival licenses were rarely going to be needed, so they were okay with slower access times compared to what's available when using cloud services. So let's look at what third-party solution they ended up going with. They ended up going with an on-premise server that continuously backed up all of the data from their Microsoft 365 accounts. They were able to back up their email accounts, OneDrive accounts, and SharePoint sites for all of their students and faculty. So while their current user data still remained in the cloud, both the current and former data got sent to the local backup. While the solution meant that data was located in 2 different places, it came with 3 main benefits. First, they were able to back up all of their accounts, including current and former users. They were also able to remove all subscription licenses for each of the former accounts, which drastically reduced costs by lessening their monthly fees. The third benefit of them going with this solution is that they were able to restore any of the former user accounts back into their active user pool if needed. So let's say a former professor comes back or an undergrad student wants to come get their master's. They don't have to start fresh again and can pick up where they left off. Now let's walk through what it looks like to restore these accounts with Active Backup for Microsoft 365. So now we will walk through a demo of how to recover files using the Synology Recovery Portal. So let's take a look at what this would actually look like. So as you can see, this is the same portal we saw before. Now let's imagine the same employee, John, left the company last year and no longer has an account either on the Synology side or the Microsoft side. His manager then realizes that an important contract and document was just sent to him. So what we would do in this instance is go up to the top right here, click on Mail, which we are already actually in, and then we can use this search function in the top right to search words that are either in the email or in the attachments. So let's say that this attachment that John has sent to him has business challenges within it. So we search business challenges and we know that there's an attachment, and we can see right here that this is the correct email. So here we see that there's actually a PDF, and it's not named business challenges, and business challenges is not in the email. But if we open up this PDF and scroll down a bit, we can see right here that business challenges is actually in the PDF, and the recovery portal was able to search those words and find the appropriate document. So now let's go back and look at how we can actually export this email. Let's say we wanted the full email, not just the document, back onto the computer and downloaded it so that it can be shared out or just be on the manager's computer. So from here, you could either download all of these emails using the similar box from before where you click up here, or you can just click on this specific email, go up here, click export. You can either export all of the mails in the search result or just the singular email. Here you can choose either an EML or a PST, but essentially that's it. It's a very simple process, and now it is downloaded. It shows you the log. So you don't need to go in and search and dig through each of the files and folders and all of the data associated with John's account. We can just use that search function and easily pull it down from the recovery portal. Thank you again to everyone for joining today, and hope we were able to provide applicable strategies for cloud data backup that you can implement in your organizations moving forward.
All right, and now we're going to jump into some questions here with Trevor. Thank you so much for that awesome presentation. Before we dive into the audience questions, though, I do want to point out that I've got a poll up on the screen for you all, and what we're looking for is what additional information you would like to get about the Synology solution. So what extra info, after all that great stuff that we just heard, there's going to be something that you blinked and you missed, or you want to dig in a little bit deeper. So click on that poll right now, and Synology will make sure that they get you that information that you need to take that next step there. Trevor, you're getting some high fives from the audience out there. Jeffrey wants you to know that he thought it was a great presentation. I agree. Are you ready to jump into some audience Q&A?
Yep, that sounds great.
Let's do it. Okay, so which Microsoft 365 plans is this going to work with?
So it works with a few different plans. So that mainly includes business, enterprise, education, and exchange online.
Okay, so yes to all is kind of what I'm hearing from that.
For the most part, yeah.
Well, that's good. That's a good answer. Is there any limit to the number of accounts?
So there's not a definitive or specified limit on the number of accounts that can be backed up, but we do suggest if that someone is backing up more than 500 accounts, that they contact us for a consultation just to avoid any potential issues.
Okay, I appreciate that. I'm just scanning through because you know what, your team is also answering these questions on live chat, and so I'm trying to keep up with them as fast as they're answering. But they're moving very quickly. Can this back up Teams as well?
So yes, it actually can back up Teams. So specifically, it can back up channel posts, the settings for Teams and standard channels, the content that's stored in SharePoint, such as files, email attachments, wikis, and also OneNote notebooks.
Okay, I like this. You're knocking out these nice, succinct answers. It's great. We're cruising through our list here. David here wondering, does it allow retention policies to be applied to the backed up data?
So that would actually depend on, the backup application that's being used. Most of our backup applications do have snapshots or versioning options, unless it's really stated otherwise. So there's single version hyper backup tasks with one of our packages, or there's some active backup for business file server backup options.
Great. Okay. Well, I'm going to sneak in one last question before we wrap here. This is from Theodore, and I think this is a question that a lot of folks are wondering, especially as you were kind of going through that responsibility model, who's responsible for what. So Theodore is saying, isn't in SaaS the customer is 100% responsible for the data?
So for services like Google Workspace and Microsoft 365, that's definitely true. And this is why we recommend using our Google Workspace and Active Backup for Microsoft 365 services, just to back up those emails and files, should the worst thing happen and, everything goes down. But since the backup is stored locally, you'll be able to, manage it. And even if the data is lost from the SaaS servers, you'll be able to restore the data back up to it.
Awesome. All right. Well, again, Trevor, you're getting a lot of high fives from the audience out there. Bridget says, yay for backing up Teams. She says, that's really nice. Brian says, really great stuff. We actually got a shout out to your team on live chat. Daniel sent a link to some folks helping out. So you do have a very active team helping answer questions. So if anyone out there has more questions, and I know there's a lot we didn't get to, please keep sending them in because the Synology crew is answering them. And again, we'll make sure that any questions not answered over live chat go to the team and they'll send you an email to follow up. We are going to have to leave it there because we're a little short on time. But Trevor, before you take off today, if somebody out there is ready, excited, wants to jump in with Synology, what do you recommend as their very first step?
There are a ton of helpful YouTube videos out there, even with walkthroughs. We do have a live demo that I highly suggest because we have a great user interface and operating system. But definitely, people can reach out to us and we'd be happy to walk them through a demo or just talk about, what solution is right for them and how it would fit their use case.
I love that, and we've made it very easy for everyone out there today because in the handouts tab, the link, the Synology link, takes you right to getting a free demo and consultation. So as Trevor said, this is the best way to jump in, so make sure you do click on that link in the handouts tab. Trevor, thank you so much for that presentation and for sticking around to answer some questions with us today.
Yes, thank you. It was a pleasure.
All right, and to everyone out there who's answering that poll, I'm going to leave that up for another second longer while I go ahead and give away some prizes. For our first prize giveaway, we're going to do both. We'll have a $300 Amazon gift card and an iPhone 14 Plus. So I'll remind you again, you do need to be here, live, present at the MegaCast in order to win. And our very first winner of a $300 Amazon gift card today is Sanjana Shah of Maryland. Sanjana Shah of Maryland, you've won a $300 Amazon gift card. And our first winner of an iPhone 14 Plus here today is Anna Shirley of South Carolina. Anna Shirley of South Carolina, I've made this comment when I've seen you in the chat before. I love your name as a huge Lucy Maud Montgomery fan, and we have a Diana Berry who messages in sometimes, and that just makes me so happy that we have Anna Shirley and Diana Berry. So that's my geek out moment for the day. Anna Shirley, congratulations on your iPhone 14 Plus phone. As always, we will be following up with all of our winners after we wrap. Now, don't forget, there's still that best question gift card from each of our presentations. So get those questions coming in, because even if we don't get to you live in the Q&A session, you are still entered to win just by asking that question. So keep those coming. All right, well, we are going to keep things rolling right along here, because up next we have an awesome presenter, and I know you can all see the name, and so many of you will recognize Sham. This is Sham Oza, Director of Product Management from Spanning. Sham, I am so excited to welcome you back to the MegaCast today. I know you've got some cool stuff to cover with us as always, so I'm going to hand the mic right on over to you.
Thank you very much, and thank you guys for hanging out with us today. I know your time is precious, and so I want to make the best out of it and share some things that we've learned over time, especially last year, when it comes to not only protecting cloud workloads, is something I was talking about here last week with Azure, but also SaaS workloads and how SaaS provides unique data protection challenges that are very different from IaaS and PaaS. And over time, I've learned about these experiences, not just through product development and go-to-market, but most importantly, by having conversations with customers like you, talking to industry experts and observing trends that are coming up. So obviously, we'll spend the first part of this chat talking about some of those modern data protection challenges that you have with SaaS in particular. We'll look at some of the new threats that are coming up in 2023 and beyond. We'll also talk about how it's never just SaaS, right? A lot of times we can get too focused on one thing and not realize that it's part of a much bigger technology stack and things are interconnected. And then, of course, we'll do our poll, giveaway, and Q&A at the end. So when it comes to modern SaaS challenges, the first thing we have to kind of do is remember that we're at this crazy convergence where before the pandemic, all we could talk about was cloud. After the pandemic, all we can still do is talk about cloud, but in very, very different contexts, right? The pandemic accelerated both the utilization of cloud to provide our remote worker services, and the number of organizations that turn to remote and hybrid work has increased significantly. And in some ways, it was a necessity, but in other ways, we also learned that it was a great productivity boost. It gave us the ability to hire talent that might not be right outside our door, and it doesn't look like it's going anywhere anytime soon. And we're not just seeing that in the percentages of cloud workloads deployed, but in the overall volume, the amount of money that's actually being spent. And one of the things that we saw, which was interesting, is in the recent years, a big shift in the data was that we saw a lot of people spending money on Microsoft Azure. Many people are moving some or significant volumes of workloads onto Microsoft Azure as that offering has started to mature over time, both in IaaS and PaaS. But we're seeing the overall dollar amount increase as well. So they're not just taking email and lifting it and shifting it to the cloud, but they're actually investing in new technologies, new capabilities, maybe an app that's hosted in there. Maybe they're using Power Apps, Power BI, and other connectors to kind of hook up their data to their business applications. And for those of you guys who might not be familiar with the cloud responsibility model, we won't beat a dead horse going over this, but as you know, whether you're going with SaaS, IaaS, or PaaS, the vendor is responsible for things like the hardware failure, natural disasters, and power outages. But keep in mind, no matter what type of cloud you're using, you're still responsible for human error, programmatic errors, malicious insiders, and the rest. And a lot of times we talk about the theory, we talk about where the line is drawn in the sand, but we have to start looking at this in practice, right? We trust Microsoft as a vendor. They provide us with a 99.999, I forget how many nines, SLA. And I'll be honest, I don't think anybody can do the kinds of things that they're doing. When you look at the red versus blue teams in their security testing, the type of security they have with data encryption, file shredding, and stuff like that, with their Fort Knox storage. Very, very cool stuff beyond enterprise grade, right? Stuff, but even they don't get it right every single time. And in this January, actually, we saw a situation where a bit of routine maintenance was being conducted on a number of network appliances, and a command that wasn't fully vetted or maybe tested in that region was executed, and it actually led to the downtime of Microsoft 365, which is SaaS, but also took down things like Power BI, Azure GovCloud, and a few other things in that region and around those subscriptions. And that's 4 hours, right? I don't know about you, but if I couldn't access my email or Teams or anything like that for 4 hours, I might put my legs up and relax or go do something else. And so this means that the business effectively stops. What's your recovery plan in that case? What's your continuity plan in that case? Can you recover business critical files even while Microsoft 365 is down? And of course, shameless plug there with something like spanning. Yes, even when the Microsoft cloud is down, you have the ability to get to those files and recover them. But it's not just the vendor, and when it happens to the vendor, it's very rare. We hear about the other situations a lot more, and lots of different things can happen. When you look way back in the day, CodeSpaces was one of the first kind of eye-opening stories for me. They had a disgruntled employee. They were doing everything right as far as the book was concerned. They had production, they had backups, everything was running smoothly. What they forgot to do was keep the keys out of a single person's pocket. And this angry employee left the organization, but left it in extreme fashion. They ended up deleting all of the production cloud environments as well as the backups that they maintained. So this is a problem of putting all your eggs in one basket. When it comes to modern threats, we look at some recent lessons learned from Rockstar, the game studio behind Grand Theft Auto, and Uber, the guys behind the rideshare app that you guys are all familiar with. And in both cases, they were actually socially engineered. And not only were they socially engineered, but in the case of Uber, the user socially engineered his way into a content management system, so SaaS, found unsecured files in that SaaS environment, and then used those unencrypted keys that he found in the script to then threaten their cloud infrastructure, as well. So in this case, it wasn't just an attack on the SaaS environment or on the user. It eventually became a full-on attack on their entire cloud infrastructure. And in many of those cases, the data is at risk. It can be compromised, it can be deleted or corrupted. But sometimes these bad guys don't even want to destroy or disrupt the data. They want to take it. And they want to use it to do things like sow political discord and harass people. And in the MetaBank hack, people are actually stealing data related to sensitive medical procedures, things like abortions and all that folks don't want to talk to and definitely don't want public. And nobody really has a right to any of that information. But these bad guys basically exfiltrated that data and then used it basically for their own ends. And I see, in 2023, this unfortunately accelerating, right? AI is not perfect. If you look at the image prompt on the right side, somebody had asked the AI to give them salmon swimming in a lake. And unfortunately, they got these salmon steaks swimming in a lake instead. So AI is by no means perfect and isn't going to take away all our jobs tomorrow. But that image at the top, believe it or not, is also real. Is also AI generated and looks very real. And so the fakes are getting really good. They're not perfect, but they're getting better. But they're also getting good at being able to do things like write complex code in different languages and assuming certain conditions. So obviously the prompt I'm writing there is a bit simple, but imagine being able to write code that can then hijack infrastructure on a local device, or ransomware toolkits that can be created and sold for pennies on the dollar. And chatbots in particular can exploit vulnerable populations, and not just the elderly and things like that when it comes to scams, but they can trick your employees as well. It's very easy to create fake users, to create fake connections and interactions with those users. And even if you think about it, it's very easy for me to say, hey, here's Abby Feldman's tech blog, and I'm going to ask ChatGPT to create 4 years worth of tech articles and blogs and post that on a WordPress site. And suddenly everyone thinks, oh, Abby Feldman's been a technologist for years and years, and look at all the people that she's interacting with. And even when these bots are called out for being fake, they commit to the game pretty well. So this fake Abby Feldman here actually threatened to sue the people calling the account owner out. And they stuck until the very end, but eventually that account was taken down. But the ability to create these things quickly is very scary, and it just furthers the challenges that we face here in the cloud. So a couple things to keep in mind, whether it's SaaS, IaaS, or PaaS, you don't want to keep all your eggs in one basket. You're vulnerable to that single cloud risk and downtime scenario. If you're using different platforms, if you're using Azure and Microsoft 365 and Salesforce, some things are charged per user, some things are charged per gig. The growth and the unpredictable cost of that can be very difficult. So you want a vendor that's going to give you a simple, billing model and not make it impossible to predict whether it'll cost, your budget will be 10% or 300% higher, next year. And all of these different applications, if you're mixing Microsoft 365 and AWS, these start to become very difficult to manage. You've got different consoles, different skill sets, different configurations, different ways of enforcing policies. So the top considerations that I would recommend everybody on this call make when they're choosing a backup vendor is to ensure that A, the backup vendor provides them some sort of multi-cloud backup. So for example, with our Azure backup, you can back up to other subscriptions, to on-prem or to our cloud. With our SaaS backup, we don't just back up the data in the Microsoft or Google data centers, but we extract that data. And now, in addition to your production and backup copy in Microsoft, you have data sitting in spanning storage sitting in Amazon S3, ensuring that you can have easy compliance with a 3-2-1 backup model. Make sure that your vendor is giving you a no BS fee. They shouldn't be telling you about things like egress, ingress, the gotchas when it comes to going over certain storage limits and things like that that aren't published in their SLAs or on their websites. And when it comes to fees, make sure you don't forget about the cost associated with provisioning an appliance, whether it's physical or virtual, provisioning and maintaining storage, network configurations and firewall configurations. If you have to do all that stuff, you're just investing more and more in things that are pretty much turnkey by a lot of vendors like Spanning. You don't have to worry about storage. You don't have to worry about network configuration. You just add the app from the store and start taking backups. And when you want to protect certain users, it's very simple. Make sure that you can license per user so that you know exactly who's being protected and who isn't. Don't unnecessarily protect data or hold on to data that could be a liability or a risk later on, and don't overpay for users you don't want to protect. And on top of that, ensure you're looking at solutions that automate the protection, automate the license management, ensure that they automate the onboarding and offboarding of users, and check what they do when it comes to users who leave the organization. What happens when that Microsoft 365 license is deprovisioned? Can you hold on to that data in a cheaper, more affordable way? And, lastly, I'd say is we don't live in a backup-only world. Having a vendor that does automated backups, that has a SaaS-based UI, that should be table stakes. What you really want to look for are backup solutions that integrate with things like IT documentation, that integrate with your PSA systems like BMS, Autotask, and things like that. And also can synchronize with audit tools so that you can very quickly and easily generate reports of compliance and things like that to make the auditors go away so you can focus on other things. And when I say it's more than backup, there is so much more that we can talk about. But one particular thing that I want to highlight is cyber insurance. This is something that is massive. It's happening in the industry right now. And what's really important is that not only do you need backup in place to qualify for cyber insurance, but when it comes time to make that claim for cyber insurance, one thing that's really important is they'll ask you, were you protected? When was your most recent backup? When was the last time you patched that system? When was the last time you patched that backup appliance? Because if those things don't satisfy the requirements, not only may you lose a policy or not qualify, but when it comes time for that payout, you might not get paid out or get a partial payout unless you meet a lot of the technical safeguards, which, again, if you work with Unitrends or Spanning, these things are just out of the box. They're table stakes for us. But these are huge requirements for things like cyber insurance, making sure the data is encrypted, making sure the storage is immutable, making sure you have 321 in place, authentication, all that stuff. And of course, making sure that you have a vendor that's providing you full coverage and full support. You don't want to work with somebody who you can't call on the weekend or something like that. And we're talking about SaaS, today, but as a vendor, you want to go to a single person or a single organization for all of your backup needs. We don't put all of our eggs in one basket. All of our experiences aren't just in Microsoft or Google or Salesforce. They're spread across the environment. We have our remote workers, we have our branch offices, we have cloud native workloads, and we've still got those very business critical on-prem or private cloud workloads that need a very premium SLA. And we're the vendor, that's going to give you just Microsoft 365 backup if that's all you need, or be ready to protect that entire fleet or technology stack as you mature or as your needs grow. And all of that is consolidated into a single pane of glass that we call our UniView. Authentication, backup status, ticketing integration, SSO into other applications for management consoles and things like that, all centralized in a single place. So you're not looking for a fire in 10 different ways and your technicians are wasting time or they're completely unaware that there's a problem. And you want to do this with a vendor that you can trust. When it comes to SaaS backup, we've been around for quite some time. And one of the things I'm proud of is last year alone across our 3 suites, we actually restored 1.5 billion items to production for our customers. And you don't have to take my word for it. We have a ton of other customers out there. Our case studies are on our website. We can get you in touch with a few of these folks or even talk to a few more. And who knows, maybe we'll have your name up there, on the list soon. And if you're just kind of, getting started, we have a bunch of resources. Some will be applied after this call and sent out to you. And we have a ton of other resources on our website, whether you're in the ed tech market and you're using Google, whether you're just looking for best business practices for your Microsoft 365 deployment, or you're a CRM administrator and you're talking about Salesforce backup. So tons of information. We'd love to talk to you about whether you're just backing up SaaS or the big things out there. And of course, we do everything. Backup is table stakes. Things like backing up SharePoint, backing up Teams, backing up files, having granular restores, all that stuff already exists in our product. That's not what we want to talk about. What we want to talk about is the confidence and the additional value you get for choosing us as your backup vendor over another. So thank you guys so much, and I think we're going to go into the poll, the Q&A, and wrap things up.
You got it. It's almost as if you've been here before, Sham. You know the drill.
Might not be my first rodeo.
Maybe not. Yeah, you're an old hat at this. We do have that poll up for you, as Sham said. So what we're wondering about is what additional information would you like to get about the spanning solution? So again, Sham just gave us such a great intro into what you can do with spanning, and there's so much more to learn. So right now, click on the poll. Your future self is going to thank you for this. You're going to make your life easier because spanning is just going to hand you exactly what you need, nothing more, nothing less, and they will make sure that you have the information that you want to follow up. While you folks are clicking on the poll there, Sham and I are going to jump into some questions. You ready, my friend?
Ready to go.
Okay, I like it. All right. Well, we have a new we have new Microsoft Enterprise plans. Don't they include backup and retention?
Yeah, that's a great question. So one of the things that's really important is things like information rights management, archives, and things like that are great for retaining data. Gold copies for things like litigation requests and all that. But when you have a gold copy of something, that's actually taken outside of your collaboration systems, put somewhere else, and it's kind of frozen and is not being actively collaborated on. And it can't technically be restored in a self-service way that you could do with spanning. So I could just log in, go to my email, go to my OneDrive, restore a file. I don't have to be a compliance officer or have a premium assignment. And actually, the most important thing is both Microsoft and Google in their help documents have some version of this language, which says an improperly configured retention rule can lead to the irrecoverable loss of data. So if you put 3 days instead of 3 years into your retention policy, I know that's a silly example, but it happens, then the actual tool you're using to retain the data might actually result in the data loss. So you always want to have both. You don't want to use backup as your records management platform as well. Don't buy spanning for that. But you don't want to use your records management platform as backup either.
That's a great example there. We do have a couple of questions here, and I think a lot of people are wondering about AI. That obviously is sort of top of mind, and these AI-enhanced threats that we're seeing, really increasing speed, in particular. Paul here is wondering, are security and data protection platforms able to recognize and flag generative AI-enhanced attacks, which one might see with maybe phishing or other manipulated content attacks?
Yeah, so our backup and recovery solutions themselves focus more on the data integrity, but what we do is we have organic integrations with a lot of other solutions. And the two that I can think of right away are, one is our endpoint defense solution. This is going to look for those non-traditional attacks that antivirus and things like that miss. Things like compromised admin credentials, hijacked accounts, let's call them sleeper admins and things like that, malicious scripts, things that look legitimate but are clearly a bad guy or a bad actor. That's the endpoint defense tools. And then for phishing defense, not only do we look at the language and things like that, but what's really important is to look at other external factors. So our phishing defense module, Graphis, won't just look at the actual message itself, but it'll look at things like additional attributes. Where is it being sent from? What time is it being sent? Does this person usually send attachments or a link? Does this, is this the CEO, or does the CEO usually send things through their executive assistant? What's their geo? All kinds of stuff. So the AI is getting smarter at not just looking at the text and saying, did another robot write this? but also, is this behavior normal for a person? And are there other red flags that tell me this might not be on the up and up? And those are two ways that we're applying things like artificial intelligence in modules that we have integrations directly with.
That's sorry, Sean. I'm just fighting a bit of a spring cold. That's really interesting, and I wish we could keep going on this. I think we're going to have to leave it pretty quickly here. But before you leave us, Sean, if you could give everyone out there an idea. You posted some resources earlier, and as you mentioned, we've got some resources for you here in our handouts tab, and that currently is the ebook, 7 Key Steps to Quick Data Recovery. A very fun and easy read, really well laid out. I have to say, your team makes some great handouts. So other than the handout and the poll, what is the first step to getting started?
Yeah, so definitely, if there's one thing to keep in mind, just go to spanning.com and you'll have all of the information and resources you need. If you're looking for backup for one of your SaaS products in particular, Office, Google, or Salesforce, just go to either the Office Store, the Google Marketplace, or the App Exchange, search for Spanning. You can do that and start a no-frills 14-day trial right there, kind of if you're a self-starter. But also feel free to reach out to us and we'll give you a personalized demo and a guided trial as well.
Love it. All right. Well, Sean, thanks so much for being back here with us today. It's always a pleasure to chat with you, my friend.
Thank you. Have a good one, everybody.
All right, and to everyone out there who clicked on the poll, thank you so much for taking some time to do that. And like I said, please do head on over to the Handouts tab. Make sure you snag that Spanning handout. Now, while you're doing both of those things, I'm going to give away a prize. So we're going to do a $300 Amazon gift card. I'll remind you again that you do need to be here live and present with us at the MegaCast. Our next winner of a $300 Amazon gift card today is David Goen of Hawaii. David Goen of Hawaii, you have won a $300 Amazon gift card. So not only do you get to live in beautiful Hawaii, you also now have $300 to spend on Amazon. And isn't that just win-win? All right, well, we will have more winners coming up. We will follow up with all winners after we wrap. We'll also be following up with the winners of that best question card. So keep those questions coming in, folks. And in the meantime, we're going to keep moving things along here. Up next, I am so excited to introduce you all to not one, but two awesome speakers who are here with us today to talk about Rubrik and M365 data protection, so important. So we will be chatting with Jerry Reinbeck, VP Rubrik X, Tech GTM at Rubrik, and Salvatore Bucaliero, Senior SaaS and Security Sales Engineer, EMEA at Rubrik. Jerry and Salvatore, thank you so much for being here with us today. I know you've got some great info to cover, and so I'm going to hand things right on over to you. Take it away.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jerry Reinbeck from Rubrik. Within Rubrik, I'm responsible for our SaaS and security products in EMEA, and I'd like to talk to you today about one of the fastest growing applications in the world right now, Microsoft 365. So what we've seen, and especially because of the pandemic, is an extremely accelerated usage, and not just in sheer numbers, but most of all in criticality. I think M365 has extremely rapidly evolved from an email online utility to a Tier 1 business application. Imagine a situation today, if you have already migrated to M365, imagine a situation today where all of your email, your collaboration, your Teams, your OneDrive, your SharePoint sites, everything is gone. What happens to your business when that moment comes? How do you interact with your customers? What is your failback scenario? I mean, could you even communicate with press? Things like that. So 365 has been an enormous, increasingly important application in our data center landscape, in our cloud landscape. And I want to talk to you about protecting that data that is in there. Because Microsoft will protect Microsoft will give you the services you are needed to run your 365 environment, but the data that is in there is your data. And that's not just my statement, that's actually the contract that you've also signed with Microsoft. They will provide all the services needed to keep those services running, but in case something happens to your data, that is your responsibility, and that is why Microsoft strongly recommends you to back up the data that is in there on a regular basis. So, what is it that Rubrik has to offer for customers using 365? Of course, Microsoft already has a lot of tools inside of 365 that you can use for accidental deletions, for litigation situations, and of course the compliancy, the threat analysis, all of those things Microsoft can do for you. But what Rubrik can do on top of that is really give you a zero trust backup environment for that 365 data. We will make sure that we can protect and recover it, even if you're talking about tens of thousands of users. Of course, all of that is being done in a true Rubrik form. As you, if you're already a Rubrik user, you know that everything in our system is run by SLAs. So you tell us basically how many backups you want per day, how many copies you want to have stored, for how many years you want to store them, and the system will figure out how to do those backups. That is for data center solutions, but that's also for hybrid cloud solutions, and now also for 365 SaaS applications. So what is the real threat that we're facing? Of course, Microsoft will do everything in their power to keep you safe. Unfortunately, they have no control over what happens to your users and your passwords, and sometimes perimeters are breached. If that is the case, what we see more and more is that these attackers will try and get your global admin passwords as soon as possible. Because once they have that, and it can take weeks of digging through your log files, of social engineering, spear phishing, you name it, but they will get to a point where they have that administrator password. And once that is there, all transactional systems are locked. You will get the note saying, we now have your data locked, and you have decisions to make. Are you going to pay them, or are you going to try and come back from this scenario? So, of course, your data will be exfiltrated, you'll get a ransom note, and then basically Microsoft gives you some tooling to, you have retention policies, recycle bins, version control, legal holds, preservation lock. So you basically have those options within your environment, which is fine if you're talking about 10, 20, 30 mailboxes. The problem is, at enterprise scale, these tools were never built for disaster recovery. There's no way to get 10,000 mailboxes or terabytes of OneDrive data back through these policies or back through these tools. So you either use the native compliancy tools or you're doing the compliancy encryption, preservation tools, but none of them will give you the ability to do a mass recovery. So if that is what your strategy is based on, it will get you out of a lot of situations, but mass protection and recovery is not one of them. And that is a scenario if you're attacked by ransomware, although sometimes you also have rogue IT administrators or just major project blunders. These things happen, and if you have to recover 10,000 mailboxes and OneDrive folders, that's the moment when you realize that all of those tooling that you've been using for single file recovery or single mailbox recovery are not going to help you right now. So all of these tools by itself are fantastic. They have their own use. But in case of a cyber attack, what you see is actually, if they have the global admin account, they're actually going to use these against you, because retention is great, but an admin can overrule it and set it back. So your recycle bin no longer works. The legal hold is fantastic if you want to lock 1, 2, 3 mailboxes, but there's no way you can lock your entire environment and utilize that tool. Same with retention, the same with version control. Version control is fantastic if you delete a file and you want to get a previous version, if you modify a file and you want to get a previous version back. But if you delete the entire environment, then also version control is gone. right? This is why you need a third-party application like Rubrik to protect this environment, this business-critical application. So some core design principles. So Microsoft is an investor in Rubrik, and our combined efforts to build the best solution in the market to protect that 365 data has some key principles. So our approach really has been, this is a zero trust design, right? So the core principle is nobody is to be trusted, including our employees, your employees. So everything has been completely air-gapped, encrypted, and least access. So role-based access control, lowest permissions possible, et cetera, et cetera. Our employees cannot access that data, and that data is also not stored in your primary Microsoft environment. It's actually stored in ours. So even if they have full global access control, full global admin control in your environment, they will not be able to reach the backup data. Of course, this is an enterprise solution, so we want to make sure that we use all of the tools that Microsoft gives us, all of the APIs and the Kubernetes services that run below, to scale that up automatically and use the power of the cloud, the performance of the cloud, to really give you, minimal downtime, maximum performance. Of course, we've built this solution from the ground up, but also to be completely compatible and exactly the same as we are already protecting data centers today. So if you're using Rubrik for your VMware environment or your native cloud solutions or your SQL servers, the way you're protecting the environment based on SLAs, based on business policies, it works exactly the same. It's the same interface, the same workflow, the same full API automation possibilities that you have in our core product, you also have in our 365 product. So how does it work? You have on the bottom of the screen, this is your 365 environment. It's compromised, they have your passwords, and now they're trying to reach that data. The beauty is, of course, we're using multi-factor authentication. We're using OAuth authentication between the two systems. So basically, you give us a one-time password to get the information that we needed. After that, these user accounts are no longer used. Everything is encrypted, both at flight and at rest. But most of all, it's completely air-gapped. It has separated from your environment. There is no matching user IDs and passwords, and it's completely safe. Once that connection has been established, you assign the SLA. You tell us, this is how many times a day I want my mailboxes protected. This is how many times a day I want my SharePoint environment protected. This is how many days, weeks, months, or years you have to store this. Rubrik, go figure it out. Once that is done, we will scale up our backend. So the amount of machines, the amount of storage, the amount of Kubernetes services that we are using in the back is dynamically allocated based on the metrics of your environment. So we know how many users, how many terabytes, petabytes we need to protect or recover, and based on that, we'll scale the backend as needed. And of course, all in one simple interface. A SaaS application hosted by Rubrik with all of your data ready to be restored. Last but not least, Microsoft recognizes the importance of these kind of solutions, and we're extremely proud to say that Microsoft even took a significant stake in our company because they believe that this is the way forward. So our engineers are working together to bring you the best solution in the market possible today. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I've tried to show you the why and the what of M365 protection. In the next 15 minutes, I'm actually going to show you the how. So stick around for a live demonstration, and see you there.
Thank you, Jerry. I will take it from here. Hi, everyone. My name is Salvatore Bucoliero. I'm based in Copenhagen, Denmark, and I'm the Senior Microsoft 365 Specialist Engineer for EMEA. I've been here since 2017, so almost 5 years now. It's really going fast. It has been really fun and interesting to be part of this journey of innovation here with Rubrik. In this little video, I will show you a short demo of how we protect a Microsoft 365 workload. We have a very good partnership with Microsoft, who recently decided to invest with Rubrik. And we are, of course, super excited and proud to be selected as a Microsoft 365 partner. But let's jump into the demo. Let me share my screen. So as you can see here on the screen, this is Rubrik Polaris. Rubrik Polaris is our central management and administration, reporting and auditing tool for all the workloads you want to protect. So this includes data center workloads, remote offices, cloud workloads, and SaaS. This is also the place you would be alerted and be investigating if you had a ransomware attack. This is also where you could investigate if you have any personal sensitive data in your data sets. This is where you can set up, test, and do orchestrated disaster recoveries between sites, and much more, including the new capabilities we'll be bringing to the marketplace. So one central management to rule them all. In this picture here, you can see we have an overview of tasks. We have a compliancy overview, protection overview, and for each of these numbers, you can click and drill in and get more information. We have a map, an interactive map where we can see where our data centers are located. So I'll be going into the inventory. This is the view of all the things we can protect here at Rubrik. As you can see, it's data center, it's cloud, it's all the workload types. This is Microsoft 365, and we get an overview here. We have one subscription, we have 100% compliancy rate, 690 protected objects. And let's go in and see this. This is the dashboard of Microsoft 365. It gives you a good amount of information in one quick go. So you can see how much storage we are consuming. We can see the compliancy for all the objects. And here we can drill into compliancy for a specific object type, such as teams. And we can see we have 4 teams and they are all compliant. We have a graph of daily errors and warnings, and we can see a success rate. And down here, we have an overview of the mailboxes, the OneDrives, the SharePoints, and the Teams. And we are getting told how many we are being protected, and we get an SLA compliance rate. This is just one Microsoft 365 subscription I have in this demo. If you want to add more subscriptions, you can just click Add Subscription, and this will guide you into a 7-step process where you are connecting to your Microsoft 365 subscription, authorizing access, setting it up, and then you are good to go. It's really fast and efficient. And here at Rubrik, we believe in simplicity and we believe in efficiency. So we are utilizing Microsoft Kubernetes to spin up compute resources as needed. And by doing this, we are very elegantly and automatically able to scale from very small workloads to very large workloads. Also, we have a Microsoft 365 hosted option where we are storing your Microsoft 365 data in an Azure hot blob store that ensures that you have no access to the actual backup data, and that ensures that a rogue admin or ransomware attack would not be able to destroy both your production data and your backup data. So separation of duties is super important. This interface obviously also supports single sign-on, multi-factor authentication. We have role-based access. everything is encrypted and using certificates. So security is really in the center of it all as well here. Let's look into Exchange Mailbox and see what users we have here. You can see this is the users tab for Exchange Mailbox. We could also select OneDrive. And we have here the SLA domains that we are using to protect these users. I could select all of the users in one go and click Manage Protection. And here I can select one of the SLAs that I have already, or I can create my own. So I'll do that, or at least the first few steps of it. So I'll be typing a name here that gives this SLA a name. And here I can select what type of workloads I want to be protecting with this SLA. So you can see we support multiple workload types in this GUI. Microsoft 365 is what I want. I'll click next. And now I need to decide how often I want to protect the workload and how long retention I want for these settings. So maybe I want to protect everything every 4 hours, and I will retain this frequency just for 1 day. So for the past 24 hours, I have 6 backups to choose from. I may want a regular daily backup, and I'll keep that for 1 month. I'll do a monthly backup, and by the way, I want that the first day of the month, and I want to keep this for 3 months. And then finally, I want a yearly backup, which is from December, and I want to keep this for, let's say, 5 years. Very simple and easy and intuitive way of defining exactly how I want to be protecting my workloads. I'll click next. And this is an overview of the selection choices I've done. I won't create this SLA now. I just wanted to show you how we do create these SLAs. So instead of assigning SLAs by the user, which can be somewhat cumbersome, depending on how many users you have, we also understand an Azure AD group setup. So here are some of the Azure AD groups we have imported into Polaris, and I can then assign SLAs depending on which group a person is part of. And you can see if I add group, it will connect to Azure AD, and here I can select which group I want to be administrating. So this could be SQL admins. Click add, and now I have SQL admins, and I can then assign an SLA to users belonging to that group. Really nice and easy. Going back to the users, I have a status of active users and relic users. So when users are leaving the company, we most likely still have to retain the data for the remainder of the retention period. And by selecting active or relic, we can know if we are working with active or relic users. Up here, I have a very fast search capability. I can find a user. You could see we have 2 Salvatores here at Rubrik. And I'll just select myself. And this is the overview of the protection of my mailbox. I'm part of the SLA called Gold. And you can see it's highlighted. I could click in and see how that actually is set up. This is the calendar view, so we can see what backups we have for each day for the past couple of days. And I'll go into this today. I have 2 backups. I can do a recovery from each of those, or I could search here for an email from any of those 2 backups. Maybe let's search for Microsoft. Let's see if we find something. And there are all my emails that contains the subject Microsoft. From here, I can select those emails I want, select recover, and restore them back to myself or to another user. I'll just go ahead and recover those. And as you can see, this is now in motion. This is the same simple principle I use for OneDrive. Again, I have my SLA. I can see now how much data I'm consuming in OneDrive. I have the snapshots of the different dates. Let's say if I go back to December, what do I have from that? December 1st. There was a scheduled backup. I want to recover from that one. I can select the entire OneDrive, or I can click into the actual folder structure, go into documentation, select a set of documents, click next, and recover them back to me or to another user. Of course, this is depending on the rights I have. I also have Teams, and for Teams, they are in different channels or groups, if you will. I can click into those. Again, I have the calendar view. I can click the calendar. I can search here by file names. I can also add more fields to my search, from and to, and which channel it's part of. And then, of course, I can go into the folder structure and recover those OneDrive documents directly. Very easy. Here are the various channels. I actually created my own. Click into that, and I have a document there I could recover as well. It's very much the same for SharePoint sites. I have the sites here. I can click into the site. I can search for documents. I can select an entire site. So really easy and simple and intuitive. The last thing I wanted to show you is the events and reporting. Of course, all events such as backup successes and failures and indexing and whatnot is being logged here, and you can of course send this to an external syslog server, or you can send it to Seam or XOR and other types of applications. And we also have an audit log, so you can see that I started a restore from my own mailbox, and this audit log will also be showing if a user is doing a search on a subject type in other people's emails. It's of course very crucial to keep an audit log on what people are doing with this tool. Going back to the inventory, this is again, this is the rubric Polaris, where we can manage all your workloads. And I hope you enjoyed this little demo of how we protect a Microsoft 365 workload. So thank you for your time, and have a great day. Thank you.
Well, thank you. That was an awesome presentation, awesome demo. I like that we started with the why and then got into the what. That's such a great progression. And I do want to point out that I have put a poll up on the screen for you all. What additional information would you like to get about the Rubrik solution? So take a second now. I know there's a bunch of questions that we didn't get to. We wanted to get Salvatore's full demo in today, so we decided to go a little bit long on the presentation, which means we don't have time to stop for Q&A. So keep those questions coming in over live chat, because we are going to make sure that the Rubrik team either gets back to you over live chat today or in an email follow-up. And another great way to reach out to Rubrik is to click on that poll to let them know what additional information you'd like to get, and they will make sure that you get that. I'm seeing a couple of high fives come in. Jeffrey, I agree. That was an awesome demo. It is so fun to see things live and in action like that. It definitely makes a big difference. I'm also going to suggest that you head on over to the Handouts tab, grab the white paper from Rubrik, Rubrik Zero Trust for Microsoft Environments. You can explore the Zero Trust data management and cyber resiliency platform from Rubrik, learn how it incorporates the NIST 5 pillars, get to know the architecture. It's a great solution. So please do go spend some time with that white paper later this afternoon. Don't stop and read it now, because we've got lots more content coming at you. But before we head on out into our next presentation, I am going to give away a prize. So I'll I'll remind you again that you do need to be here live and present with us at the MegaCast in order to win. And our very next winner of a $300 Amazon gift card is Sheila Augustine of Nebraska. Sheila Augustine of Nebraska. And our next winner of an Apple iPhone 14 Plus is Josh Weinstein of Arizona. Josh Weinstein of Arizona. So congratulations to Sheila on your gift card, Josh on your shiny new phone. As always, we will be in touch about claiming your prizes after we wrap. Now, don't forget, there's still lots more chances to win a prize and that best question gift card from each session. So keep those questions coming in. But we are going to keep things moving right along into our next awesome session here. It is my pleasure to introduce you all to our next fascinating presenter who is here with us today to tell us all about data protection for SaaS with Metallic, a Commvault venture. So Zach Brinkman, Senior Product Marketing Manager at Commvault. Zach, thank you so much for being here with us today. Now, I know you have some great content lined up for us. We're going to leave lots of time for Q&A. So let's get things rolling. Zach, take it away.
Hi all, it's a pleasure to be on today's session. My name is Zach Brigman, Senior Product Marketing Manager here at Commvault. Happy to be speaking about how we protect our SaaS applications in today's modern working environment. Today we will be highlighting Metallic for those of you who are not familiar to Metallic. Metallic is Commvault's line of SaaS delivered data protection services. So as we look at SaaS applications, we know that they're transforming the workplace. They're offering new productivity and efficiency gains by taking the ability to administer enterprise-grade solutions and moving them to the cloud, right? And doing it with a lot of efficiency and scale. However, there are certain principles of SaaS application data loss that still persist. Now, just because these applications are hosted in the cloud and no longer in my infrastructure, and I don't have to worry about things like, let's say, site failure or natural disasters, I still have specific threat vectors that I need to pay mind to. First of which is data corruption. And this could be complications from integrations, outages, or service unavailability that affect the integrity of data. Second of which is malicious attack. And this could happen on the external as well as the internal front, right? External, this could be cyber threats. Internal, it could be particularly insidious bad actors within the walls of your own environment that often go unnoticed. And then accidental deletion, right? And this is the accidents from users or admins that result in irreversible data loss or damage potentially. So any one of these vectors of threats needs to be paid specifically in mind as we look at what and how we need to protect our SaaS application data. Another important note in terms of SaaS application data is the shared responsibility model. So your favorite cloud service providers, be it Microsoft or Salesforce, AWS, the list goes on, they follow what's known as a shared responsibility model. And in this model, the cloud service provider is responsible for the infrastructure, the availability of their applications, their performance of that application, right? And they do a very good job at administering these solutions. The customer, on the other hand, is responsible for protecting the data that they bring to, house in, and take from the application. So just because I'm running an application via a SaaS model in the cloud doesn't mean that the complete ownership of who's protecting my data is transferred. It's still incumbent upon the customers, the businesses, to protect the data that they're bringing to these applications. So why third-party solutions? The top cloud service providers actually recommend using a dedicated data protection solutions for benefits that help extend and enhance native controls. The first of which comes in terms of isolating backups from source data. And this is really the principle of separating production environment from the backup environment, right? And the benefit here is the ability to isolate data copies so that, God forbid, something were to happen in the production environment, my backup copies are stored separately in an immutable format where that impact the production environment cannot also leap to and impact your backup copies, right? So that separation of production and backup environment. Second of which is long-term extended retention. So many native capabilities offer short-term replication. Think of things like recycling bins, right? Where I could go for a short period of time to recall an item. What businesses really are looking for in terms of extended retention is the ability to preserve and recover data from any point in time, whether that be active at a specific version level or deleted, right? Something that has been accidentally, maliciously, or hard deleted from a system, right? So the ability to reach back in time and grab any data set and pull it forward, right? When we speak about recoverability, for anyone who's tried to recover sometimes within native controls, it can be cumbersome, right? Folks need flexible, rapid restore options that get data back fast with full fidelity, and it could be the difference between minutes of outage and downtime versus days or weeks. And then dedicated controls for SLA compliance. This could be around retention, it could be around recoverability, it could be at the industry level, right? These mandates are in place that really dictate how long I keep data, how quickly I can get data back, and in order to meet them, I need dedicated controls that are capable of meeting those benchmarks. Now today, when it comes to our conversation, we're really going to dig in on Metallic Backup for Microsoft 365, Dynamics 365, and Salesforce, and considerations of what you need there. But Metallic at large provides single solution data protection across your entire data estate. This is for things like VMs and containers, structured data that's living within structured data living within databases, unstructured data, and again, this could be in your own environment, or if you're leveraging things like the cloud, Azure, OCI, AWS, so forth. We offer secure cloud storage as a secondary target for any one of these environments, plus the ability to archive unstructured data. We offer endpoint protection for laptops and desktops, as well as some unique capabilities when it comes to security, both built-in monitoring and threat insights, as well as patented cyber deception to identify zero-day and unknown data threats and cyber threats that may potentially have silently breached perimeter defenses. With every Metallic solution, Active Directory backup is built in, and that's good for Azure and Microsoft AD to be able to protect your Active Directory environments alongside your core workloads. So let's double click here into SaaS app protection. It's critical when I look at how I'm protecting my SaaS applications that it meets specific benchmarks in terms of performance and reliability. First, you need comprehensive coverage. So for Microsoft 365, this is the ability to protect Exchange, OneDrive, SharePoint, Teams, projects, and more, right? And do it all with a lot of scale and efficiency. For D365, it's really the full fidelity protection of my environment with tables and rows, columns, attributes, files, and doing it at a Power Platform level. So not just the data that's feeding D365 itself, but also data that's being pumped into applications like Power BI. And then when it comes to Salesforce, it's the protection of multiple orgs, all from a single view, right? So it's content, relationships, files, objects, attributes, metadata, so forth, right? And the ability to do it both at a sandbox level as well as a production organization. So really critical that for any one of these applications, I'm looking at the comprehensiveness of the solution and the ability to protect the objects and attributes that are living within that environment. Second of which is the recoverability. Now, we spoke about the importance of precision and speed and scale when it comes to recovery. Businesses we find need in-place options to get data back to its original home, out of place, maybe a new location, or self-service options if they so choose to increase the efficiency of their end users and relieve some burden on IT. So the ability to recover data at scale, whether it be entire sites or environments I'm rolling back, or the flexibility to get very granular and do individual data sets. Built-in compliance, this could be storage, extended retention, and all simplified management. So if I'm running one of these solutions or multiple of these solutions to protect my environments, being able to have standardized SLAs when it comes to how long I retain my data, as well as how quickly I can get it back, and being able to orchestrate that from one screen and not being able to have to manage that via multiple instances. And then layered security. We'll double click on this in the next slide, but it's that zero trust ability to be able to secure my data, ensure it's immutable, and have advanced capabilities when it comes to monitoring and protection. Now, as we look at security, Metallic really delivers a unique approach to security. It's worth noting that we're the only FedRAMP high solution when it comes to data protection, meaning that we meet the 421 mandated security controls capable of protecting federal data when it comes to confidentiality, availability, and integrity standards. And the way we do this is by really delivering an isolated virtual air gap of our environment. Data is encrypted in flight and at rest. and all stored in a separate security domain where we have really robust multi-factor authentication, zero trust access controls, and immutability principles wrapped around to prevent lateral movement, unwanted access, as well as the tampering, deletion, or modification of data. With that being said, we also have very unique capabilities when it comes to monitoring and insights. Now, what makes us truly unique in the industry is really delivering an end-to-end data protection story, both from production and backup. So we provide early warning capabilities that help flag threats before they reach the backup environment. And this is to help businesses be alerted to things like ransomware or cyber attacks or malicious insiders before it's too late. And this enables the proactive response to be able to prevent data damage as close to the perimeter as possible, to limit the need to recover and to ensure data integrity. We have really advanced monitoring and insights, and this is really as data approaches the backup environment. So this gives deep visibility into the data sets and suspicious behaviors lurking within data sets, and it empowers businesses to be able to have better visibility into their backup environment and their data, which may be at risk. This is things like ensuring I have the proper security posture of tools that are available to me, being able to see suspicious behaviors and file activities, to be able to isolate data sets if they are suspicious or infected, and recommend pre-ransomware recovery suggestions to be able to prevent reinfection. And then recoverability, right? We all know about cyber defense and the imperatives that lay there within. Cyber defense doesn't happen without cyber recovery. You need proven backup and recoverability to deliver that unrivaled business continuity and disaster recovery with those robust rapid recovery controls that are really built upon industry-leading security standards. So collectively, Metallic really offers a really requisite tool set when it comes to proactively preventing advanced threats, monitoring the health of the data on an ongoing basis, and being able to really equip businesses to rapidly bounce back to mitigate that risk. And it's all done very neatly and conveniently in the cloud. So a lot of folks go to SaaS in order to be able to realize new benefits. And this could be from the fact that I don't have to manage infrastructure and manage configurations, installations, and deployments. It could be from a maintenance standpoint, right? I go to SaaS because I'm looking to rid myself of having to continually monitor and nurse the environment, worry about things like hardware upgrades or storage limitations, and then the administration there within. Metallic provides a unique ability to have enterprise-grade security and data protection conveniently in the cloud to match that cloud and SaaS model, right? So if I'm protecting Microsoft 365, Dynamics 365, Salesforce, I can pair a really robust SaaS application when it comes to data protection that matches that consumption model and realizes the same benefits of why I'm really investing in SaaS in the first place. It's important to note that SaaS is one delivery model that we have, which we're covered off on here today, but we do provide flexible consumption models across the board. So we've double-clicked into SaaS applications, but it holds true if I'm managing on-premises workloads, multi-cloud environments, whether it's public or private, and endpoints as well. Whether it's any one of these environments or multiple in unison, Commvault provides the ability to protect this data in a SaaS delivery model as installed software if I'm looking to offshore it completely, and as a managed service. So it gives you really no compromise protection of data with a consumption model that meets how you're looking to consume your data protection services. So with that being said, just wanted to thank everyone for the time here today. Kind of the high points of what is important when it comes to data protection for my SaaS application, just reinforcing that whatever vendor you choose, you want robust protection. You want to make sure that you have a security model in place that just because it's a SaaS application, I don't have to compromise what it means for my cybersecurity or my recoverability strategies. Improve TCO, whether that be on-prem, in the cloud, or a managed service provider, and the ability to evolve with my business. So if it's a SaaS application today, or if it's a different workload tomorrow, the ability to reach across and have standardization across all of those environments. So with that being said, I encourage everyone, we have a 30-day trial out there, whether you're looking at Microsoft 365, Dynamics 365, Salesforce, you could hop over to metallic.io/trial, get a free 30-day trial and take it for a spin yourself. So again, thank everyone for the time here today. It's been a pleasure, and I'll open it up here for any questions.
All right. Well, we definitely have a lot of questions coming in. I'm so excited to jump into that. But before we do, I do want to remind you all that we have a poll up on the screen for you. And what we're looking for is what additional information you would like to get about the Metallic solution. So we just got a lot of great information from Zach, lots more to dig into, and this is a great way to take that next step. So click on the poll and let the Metallic team know what they can do, what they can send your way in order to follow up, help you out wherever you're at in your research journey right now. Get the information you need. While you are doing that, Zach and I are going to jump into a few questions here. Zach, you ready?
Yep, all set.
All right, let's do it. Okay, so starting with this one here. Zach, what storage options are available with Metallic?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. So we spoke about SaaS apps. On the SaaS app side as well as endpoints, storage is built into the Metallic offering, cloud storage that is. If I'm protecting hybrid environments, things like databases, VMs, containers, unstructured data, I have the option to bring my own storage or use storage from Metallic, whether that be an integrated appliance or cloud storage. So trying to give, on the SaaS app front, it built into the product, and then on the hybrid cloud front, the ability to use our storage on-prem or in the cloud, or to maximize your own investments, whether that be private, public cloud, or investments that you've made within your data center.
Awesome. Okay. Great answer. Let's move on to another great question here. You mentioned that Metallic provides cyber deception. I love that someone asked us, what is that exactly? Zach, can you dig in a little bit?
Sure. Yeah. When we think about deception, right, historically we've thought of things like honeypots. Modern cyber deception really is based around essentially creating the illusion of assets and resources that essentially are fake. And what it does is it trips bad actors and signals it. So Metallic really provides this patented technology to be able to spin up and mirror assets that look like, behave like, appear like real resources, systems, networks within your environment, that when they're touched by an internal bad actor or malicious bad actor, it sends off an alert signal. So essentially it's a series of tripwires that can be blanket across your environment specifically to your path to your data. And the optimal goal there is to engage, to signal, and to potentially flag a threat before it's time to recover.
I like that. I like the image of tripwires. I'm picturing the scene in the movie with all the like lasers and they're like dun 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 dun.
Yeah, so Mission Impossible, right? That's right.
Yes,
That's
exactly. Right. All right. Another question here for sandbox seating. Do you also offer masking?
Yes, we do. So sandbox seating, very specific to your CE applications with Dynamics 365 or Salesforce. Very big, huge productivity gain for folks administering those solutions. Also offer masking as well, but again, hand in hand in terms of being able to help validate, test, and again, stress test that environment, whether it be against new integrations you're running, new fields you've entered, but kind of a great benefit from the data protection realm in addition to just keeping data secure, right?
Love that. This question comes up a lot about zero-day attacks, and Darren here has asked about that. I'm wondering if maybe you can just tell us a little bit more about how you're staying ahead of the curve and staying up to date, and then addressing things like zero-day.
Yeah, no, it's a great topic, and unfortunately, no customer boundaries unpenetrable. Zero-day really refers to that unknown vulnerability that's exploited, that there's zero runway or zero visibility into. And the way that we protect it with things like cyber deception, with things like insights and monitoring, trying to provide as many layers of protection as possible, right? We harden the backup environment. We make sure that it's compliant. We make sure that it cannot be breached. But at the same point in time, we also provide these layers of protection to try and signify and signal when there is a zero-day threat, when there is something potentially impacting data sets or moving closer to your backup environment so that you can respond faster. So it happens over layers, right? It happens with cyber deception and production. It happens with monitoring and insights as you prepare data into the backup environment, and then the continuous controls that you have wrapped around that backup infrastructure itself.
Awesome. Okay. Right as I asked you that, someone else asked about 0 days. So clearly that was top of mind for a few folks out there in the audience.
Sure.
And thank you for that answer. I'm wondering, and I love when people ask this question because I think there are a lot of decisions to be made around this sort of thing. So when somebody is considering putting together the right data protection, what would you want them to be thinking about in terms of what makes Metallic, a Commvault vendor, stand out?
Yeah, and there's a ton of great solutions out there. It's been a space that there's been a ton of innovation poured into. I think that when you take a look at threats, I know we're talking about zero day, right? When you think about things like cyber recovery, when you think about data compliance, when you think about things like workload support, where I am today or where I go to tomorrow, I think a common pitfall is we look at our environments in terms of what's our 12-month roadmap of where data is. There's a lot of factors that you don't consider, whether it be a merger or an acquisition, a quick adoption to the cloud, right? So it's a combination of things just to make sure that holistically I'm covered from the standpoint of where I am today and the initiatives that I have, and as much as where I am tomorrow, and making sure that you insulate yourself so you don't have to really change your data protection strategy because your organization pivots. So just the kind of that comprehensive look at what meets my needs today, what meets it tomorrow, and should I have unforeseen factors, how could I respond with this solution set?
Awesome. Okay, now I'm going to ask you to put on a bit of almost a moderator hat now, Zach, because we're about halfway through this day, and we're starting our downtrend into the end of the day. I know that's sad for everybody out there, but lots more to come, so stay tuned. But at this point, everyone's gotten a lot of information. There's a lot coming at us, and as we just talked about, there's lots of solutions out there. So taking a bit of a step higher level, if there was something that you wanted people to be thinking about in terms of how they're approaching, these strategies, sort of one thing to be asking themselves or to be looking for, thinking about, whether it's just, hey, do something or know what you have or something like that, what to you is the most important step, next step for everybody that's here today listening to all of this information?
Yeah, I think if you have backup today, right, you have data protection, recovery is the name of the game. And a common pitfall that we see is implementing solutions, right, and making sure that day zero, right, everything's fine-tuned, leaving it on the shelf and kind of walking away. And it's really incumbent upon us to ensure that our data is protected against worst-case scenarios routinely. So just the readiness, right, stress test what you have, stress test the solutions that you're bringing in, and do it routinely. You never want to be running a solution and then have to, look at a potential breach or rolling data back because there was human error, whatever the scenario that threatens that impacted data set, right? You don't want to be doing it live for the first time. And given, the pressures, we had two folks ask about 0 day, right? Given the fact that cyber is such a focal point, just making sure that that's routinely tested and that confidently, right, the action plan and how you'd go ahead and execute a recovery should you meet a worst case scenario. That's the best advice that I think we could give around current times to ensure that the tools you're using can be used properly when, for lack of a better term, things go sideways. Yes,
absolutely. I think that is a great takeaway. Apologies. My voice is coming in and out. So I'll let you speak for a little bit longer. If you could tell us, Zach, for anyone out there that really wants to get started with Metallic, what is the first step to that?
Yep, we have a ton of great resources available on our website, metallic.io. There's a get started or a trial button in the upper right-hand corner. We offer a free 30-day trial for any one of the SaaS apps we mentioned. If you want to chat with us, you could drop us a line as well. Be happy to show you around or provide additional insight into how we could potentially help with your scenario. But metallic.io is kind of where you'd go to get started, and great number of resources out there.
I love that. Yeah, lots of great resources on that website. Thank you, Zach, so much for being here with us today. It is always so much fun to chat with you.
Yes, thank you guys for having me. Have a great rest of the day.
And for everybody out there who clicked on the poll, thank you. I will also remind you to head on over to the Handouts tab. Be sure that you download the Metallic handout, Early Warning Meets Data Protection, 3 tips to reduce the need for ransomware recovery. So this document is exploring how to protect your data, the lifeblood of your organization. It is such an interesting read, really worth spending some time with. So be sure that you've downloaded that, hold on to that, save that for later, because as I said, we are on the home stretch of our day, but we still have lots more to come. So stay with us a bit longer. Now, while you're clicking on that handout, while you are clicking on the poll, I am going to give away another one of these wonderful prizes. So up next, we're going to do a $300 Amazon gift card. I'll remind you that you do need to be here live and present with us at the MegaCast in order to win. The next winner of a $300 Amazon gift card is Michael Chong of California. Michael Chong of California. You know, as somebody who lives in snowy climates, I feel like people who live in sunny climates should be excluded from prizes. You are lucky enough. Enjoy your sunshine. Give the prizes to those of us in Arctic climates. That's all I'm saying. But Michael, you have won a $300 Amazon gift card. I know everyone in California just lost my friendship there. Wow. Okay. Boy, I better hand things over and give my voice a little bit of a break here. Congratulations to all of our winners so far. Lots more winners to come. We'll follow up with everyone after we wrap. Now, don't forget about that best question gift card that will be coming at you after we wrap. So keep asking those questions. We evaluate at the end, and then we follow up with those winners. So even if we don't get to you live in a Q&A session, you are still entered to win. Oh, yes. Okay. I love this. We have another dynamic duo. Two awesome expert presenters coming at you. Up next on the MegaCast, I am so excited to introduce you all to Kylie Fitzgerald, Senior Product Marketing Manager, Cloud Data Management and Protection at Hewlett-Packard Enterprise, and Ashwin Shetty, Product Marketing Manager, HPE Storage. Kylie and Ashwin, thank you both so much for being here with us today. Now, I know you have some awesome content lined up for us. I can't wait to dive in, so take it away, team.
Thank you, Jess. And hello, everyone. My name is Ashwin Shetty. I am the Product Marketing Manager at HP Storage for Data Protection Solution. I'm also joined by my colleague, Kylie, who is the Senior Product Marketing Manager at Zerto. Today, we are going to spend the next 20 minutes going through some of the challenges organizations face while protecting their workloads and applications, and some of the approaches you need to consider while selecting the right solution to protect your data. Protecting and managing apps and data across core data center, private and public clouds can prove increasingly complex and costly. As your organization leverages the cloud to grow your business, you start generating volumes of production data that must be efficiently protected as it scales. And you're suddenly faced with growing cyber threats. With data distributed across multiple locations on-prem and in the cloud, IT leaders urgently require a solution to effectively protect their data against ransomware and malware threats. Siloed data also increases the cost and risk while lowering efficiency. With the proliferation of data infrastructure, data is increasingly likely to be siloed by location, owner, data type, management platform, and more. This level of complexity severely inhibits the power to innovate and deliver business value, even as it increases IT expenses, risk of attack, and potential of data loss. And finally, there are inconsistent protection policy. Data protection across on-prem and the cloud tends to be inconsistently enforced and complex to manage with no common protection policies, resulting in increased risk for your data. The customer ask can be segmented into simplifying backup and recovery operations to make it easier to protect data across every SLA, protecting data from ransomware attacks while complying with data protection regulations, and having consistent data protection across the hybrid cloud. Modernizing data protection is essential for every business. And here are three stats: 51%, 91%, and 50%. In a recent ESG research of IT decision maker, over 50% of organizations view enhancing data security and protection as their number one priority. IDC's customer survey shows that over 40% of organizations expect their data to grow greater than 50% every year. And in the last 3 years, 50% of organizations have suffered from an unrecoverable data loss. Cyber attacks have surged more than ever, and ransomware has been listed as one of the most challenging areas of data protection, with over 91% of industrial organizations being vulnerable to ransomware threats. The terms backup and disaster recovery are often misunderstood while discussing data protection and IT systems. And if you're not clear on the difference, your business could end up paying the price. Having the backup strategy is not same as having a DR strategy. In basic terms, a backup is having a copy of your data, while a DR is the strategy to recover your essential IT environment if compromised. Having a copy of your data means that you should be able to back up and restore it to your original source, should there be an issue. Disaster recovery goes beyond having a backup. It means having a plan and technical solution in place that will keep the core components of your business functioning should the worst happen. This could be a natural disaster like a hurricane, flooding, fire, or a malicious event like a cyber attack. A comprehensive data protection strategy should combine both approaches to ensure business continuity while protecting your organization's data and maintaining data compliance. Delivered through HP GreenLake platform, we at HP are helping customers transform the way they manage their applications and infrastructure. Customers can use cloud data services from HP GreenLake to orchestrate compute, provision storage resources, and protect workloads with a unified access and experience. This creates a single company-wide data management approach to break down all data silos with the agility and cloud operational experience to help customers eliminate complexity and move faster. We would be focusing more on the backup and recovery and disaster recovery services. Cloud services for data protection through HP GreenLake are designed to meet ever-demanding SLAs across a spectrum of recovery point objectives and recovery time objectives. From rapid recovery to long-term retention, data protection through HP GreenLake makes disaster recovery, backup effortless, and archive effortless, automated through a simple point-and-click experience. You have the flexibility to modernize data protection and meet every SLA at the right stage of data lifecycle at the right cost. HP GreenLake for backup and recovery is backup as a service designed for the hybrid cloud. It simplifies how you protect your on-premises VMware virtual machines and cloud-native workloads like Amazon EBS volumes and EC2 instances across hybrid cloud, bringing with it cloud operational experience and the flexibility of software delivered as a service. It makes backup effortless. It protects your data in an efficient and secure approach. HP GreenLake for backup and recovery enables you to consistently protect on-premises VMs and cloud-native workloads with global protection policy, which effectively eliminates data silos, multiple administrative touchpoints, and point solutions delivered on a secure platform with built-in protection from ransomware and other threats. Now let's look at some of the differentiation in detail. It's a single service to protect your on-premises and cloud workloads. For on-premises workloads, there are two data protection paths as shown in the diagram. For VMware protection. The first is the original path that the service offered. While this offers integrated snapshots, local backup, and cloud protection policy for storage that's managed by DACC, that is HP Electra, HP Primera, and HP Nimble G5 systems. For any other storage, including non-HP storage arrays and older HP storage platforms, the capability to protect any virtual machines is being enabled by integration with VMware and the VMware APIs for data protection. The second method of protecting any VMware virtual machines will allow the service to protect all of an organization's VMware virtual machines. Protection policies protecting any VMware virtual machines will not include local snapshots as the schematic shows. For cloud native workloads like EBS volumes and EC2 instances, you have the ability to protect EBS volumes using AWS snapshots, Catalyst backups, EC2 using Amazon Machine Image and Catalyst backups. You also have the ability to protect resources using AWS stacks and other attributes. AWS stacks can be created and applied directly from the service. Now, let's look at how this service makes protection effortless. You can start protecting in minutes. With HP GreenLake for backup and recovery, there's no hardware or software to size, configure, manage, or even buy. One single service seamlessly protects VMs, Amazon EBS volumes, and EC2 instances. No scripts to code or develop, just a few clicks, and you can start back protecting your workloads in minutes. A single cloud console manages all your backup and recovery operations. This is extremely easy to use. The Cloud Console has a dashboard that provides a quick view of the protection status and the need to take action to ensure protections. It's easy to deploy, set up policies through the single management console, and the service gets automatic, timely updates without causing any disruption or downtime. The cloud native service eliminates complexity, freeing customers from the day-to-day hassles of managing a backup infrastructure. As the volumes of data continues to grow, protecting that data at scale will only become more challenging. Data protection in a hybrid cloud environment involves protecting large collections of VMs. Most of the time, these large collections of VM need some sort of similar protection SLAs. It's a tedious job for an admin to apply protection and monitor the jobs for virtual machine individually. HP GreenLake for backup and recovery makes it easy to protect at scale by organizing virtual machines into protection groups. These protection groups enable the user to apply protection for multiple VMs or data stores in a single operation to automate protection of VMs at scale. Now let's look at how the service makes it efficient. With this service, you get 100% consumption-based pay-as-you-go experience. You also have the flexibility to opt for a fixed commitment for 1 to 5 years to get the lowest unit price. The billing is based on what is protected and how much capacity is consumed on the cloud protection store. There are no complex licensing scheme to manage, no additional licenses for deduplication, encryption, or other service features. There's no need to provision backup storage based on future requirements as the service allocates capacity dynamically as needed. The Cloud Protection Store does not have any additional charges for data egress or search operations. The service incorporates the proven HP StoreOne's Catalyst technology, which provides space-efficient backups, enabling HP GreenLake for backup and recovery to deliver better storage efficiency as compared to alternate backup solutions. Up to 8 times better storage efficiency, or the need to use as less as 15% of the capacity as other protection solutions require. Better storage efficiency benefits include less storage to purchase and manage for backup data, reduced network bandwidth cost, faster finish time for backups, and ability for users to retain more with predictable cost and cloud scale. Now let's look at what makes the service secure. HP GreenLake for backup and recovery further improves the reliability of backup data with security features that includes backup data encryption, that is in rest, at rest, or in transit, making backup copies inaccessible and unreadable should they be compromised. You have configurable backup data immutability. It stops backup data from being deleted or modified before the configured retention date. And with dual authorization, it prevents users from deleting recovery points without a second approver. This service can store your backup data outside your production environment in an air-gapped approach, ensuring that hackers or cybercriminals cannot compromise the backup data. It also runs on the secure HP GreenLake Cloud Portal, which provides multi-level security for access, authentication, authorization, and communication. The data is secure. No production data is accessible from the DSCC or HP GreenLake Cloud Portal. The connection between on-premises component and DSCC is always initiated from the on-premises component. And Catalyst is an inherently secure protocol that includes features like encryption and data immutability. You can now evaluate the HP GreenLake for backup and recovery with a no obligation free 90-day trial and experience the benefit for yourself. All the features of this service with HP support are available during the trial period, and after evaluation, you can easily buy the subscription. And before I hand it over to Kylie, here's a short demo of HP GreenLake for backup and recovery.
With the HPE Backup and Recovery Service, we delivered a secure, as-a-service experience for protecting your virtual workloads and applications on premises. Through a simple and intuitive interface, you can easily group your workloads based on your enterprise service level requirements, create protection policies that define the type, frequency, and retention for your data so you can meet those SLAs, and visualize the status of your protection inventory at a glance. And we're happy to announce, new for the service, you can now protect your workloads across hybrid clouds with the introduction of protection for AWS compute workloads. Through a single interface, you can define and apply protection policies that protect your EC2 and EBS resources in AWS, just like you protect your virtual workloads on premises. Policies can be used globally to protect both your on-prem and public cloud workloads in one simple step, ensuring uniform compliance and eliminating data protection silos. A unified dashboard gives us a comprehensive view of inventory and protection status for workloads both on AWS as well as on premises. And should disaster strike, recovery is incredibly easy. Simply choose the instance and click Restore to launch a recovery wizard that will guide you through the recovery process. HPE Backup and Recovery Service, another exciting service delivered through HPE GreenLake, is your one-stop shop for secure and efficient hybrid data protection.
Over to you, Kylie.
Well, thank you, Ashwin. Coming in here at the end of this MegaCast, let me introduce you guys to HPE GreenLake for disaster recovery. It's a fully software as a service based DR solution so that you can quickly deploy yourself from anywhere at any time and from any device, which is pretty neat. Right alongside HPE GreenLake for backup and recovery and any other cloud services that you consume inside HPE GreenLake, you're going to get a simple unified DR experience that provides that fast, flexible recovery from any disruption. It has built-in DR automation and orchestration with the ability to scale up or down with your business. And it's all underpinned using the industry-leading continuous data protection that is unmatched from Zerto's technology. So what makes HPE GreenLake for disaster recovery unique? There's 4 key differences that I'll take you through. First is that continuous data protection and the 3 key components that make it work. The second would be the automation and orchestrated DR deployment and operations that are built in. And it also comes with non-disruptive testing. The third is you get that cloud operational experience with HPE GreenLake. This product was purpose-built for on-prem and cloud. Today, it's currently in preview. When it's generally available this summer, we hope that you sign up and start consuming this through HPE GreenLake. Down the line, we'll have public cloud roadmap first with Azure on the list. But lastly, as far as the key differences are concerned, is the simplicity at scale. You have a service that is not only easy to operate, but it eases your mind as it allows for flexibility in your environment, as your tech may change, as it always does, and it provides reporting in real time to make sure you're meeting stringent SLAs and RPOs of mere seconds. So what is continuous data protection and how does it work? Well, the first key differentiator is that continuous data protection, and the first key component of continuous data protection is near synchronous replication. So you get the best of both worlds of synchronous and asynchronous approaches because this is more cost effective and this is what's going to actually deliver those low RPOs of just seconds. Because we sit at the hypervisor level, this can be fully software only solution. So it's totally independent of any underlying hardware or infrastructure, including storage. So as you all are changing your tech stacks, you know that this is going to be working seamlessly in the background, keeping you always on and always protected. And it's really easy. So you simply set it up and replicate, and you're going to get that protection all day. The second key component that makes up continuous data protection is our unique journaling technology. This is a really big piece of the puzzle because we're giving you really granular point in time to checkpoints in time for you to roll back to. In the example we have here, what I'm showing you is, say a disaster hits at 10 p.m. at night. Well, with backup, you could roll back 24 hours, but that's a lot of significant data loss. And in today's day and age, we don't really have that. So with HPE GreenLake for disaster recovery and unique journaling technology, you can roll back to just a few seconds and within just a few minutes after that state of disruption had taken place. So this is really the bread and butter of what makes the continuous data protection so incredible, and allows you to recover quickly and efficiently. The third key component of HPE GreenLake for disaster recovery, that continuous data protection, is the app-centric recovery. So instead of rolling back to different points in time, you can roll everything back in one fell swoop, in one cohesive logical entity. When you're creating your recovery points, all the VMs are going to share the exact same checkpoint with right order fidelity across all of them. So when an application is recovered, every VM that makes it whole spins up from that same cross VM recovery point in the boot order of your choice. So without any extra work on your end. This is going to save you a ton of resources when you're trying to reduce that amount of time dedicated to your recovery. Now that I explained that first key differentiator, the CDP, and how it works, let me share the second key difference, which is the simplified recovery that is powered by built-in orchestration. And it's not separated out of this product. It's built in, bolted on top. With HP GreenLake for disaster recovery, you can simply select the applications or servers you want to recover, pick the exact point in time you need down to the second, and then start the failover test or restore process of your choice. When there's a disruption or outage, this is the kind of blazing fast recovery that you want, and it will help you dramatically limit that downtime and get you back up and running quickly. And as I mentioned, you can do this in the middle of the day. So, I don't know how often you're doing your DR strategy, but now you can do this on a regular basis and enable your team to test more often and more comprehensively, which really demonstrates the value when you see those low RPOs and RTOs that you can achieve. The third key difference of HP GreenLake for disaster recovery is how we're bringing the cloud to you. Let HPE handle the maintenance and upkeep of its hybrid cloud platform, HP GreenLake, and you all can reap the benefits of its security, its scalability, and the cost effectiveness. Plus, HP GreenLake is a one-stop shop for all your cloud offerings. So you can manage everything in one place and reduce that complexity of various disparate tools and the complexity that they create. The fourth key difference is simplicity at scale. You can deploy in 3 simple steps from anywhere in the world at any point in time on any device, as I mentioned before. With easy point and click provisioning, you can launch that data services cloud console, start launching the HP GreenLake for disaster recovery, and start protecting your most mission critical assets, those tier 1 or tier 2 applications. And with this, you get real-time monitoring and reporting. So you can see if you're meeting those stringent SLAs, and you can see right from your dashboard in real time that you're meeting RPOs of just a few seconds. What does this do for you? Well, HP GreenLake for disaster recovery is providing you those a reduction in the high cost of downtime. IDC had a report that came out that said from small to medium-sized businesses up to enterprise-level businesses, the average cost of downtime per hour is $250,000. So those are the estimates that you're seeing here on the screen. With HP GreenLake for disaster recovery, you can roll back to a point just 10 seconds prior to when a disruption had happened, and you can do so within just a few minutes, really significantly reducing the cost of downtime in comparison to if you had to roll back to a backup that you did maybe a day or so ago, up to 24 hours, or if you're doing snapshots, maybe every few hours. Either way, those can have significant costs, and we really don't have time in this high demand world for that, which is why you need HP GreenLake for disaster recovery. So why HP GreenLake for disaster recovery? We've talked a lot about the unique technological advantages and some of the innovative technical aspects of the platform that set us apart. At the end of the day, the real value is the business value. The business outcomes that HP GreenLake disaster recovery can deliver to help keep you running uninterrupted and provide that continuous availability. The fast, flexible recovery from any disruption, providing that one simple unified experience from edge to cloud using HPE GreenLake, and the automated orchestrated DR at scale. How do you get started with this new solution? Well, right now we're currently in preview, so I first and foremost encourage you to sign up for the free preview. Scan that code in the top right corner, but otherwise feel free to check out my own demo. And if you have more questions about CDP and how that works in developing a disaster recovery strategy, reach out to sales@zerto.com and we'll be able to talk to you about the best options for you right now. And if you haven't already, sign up for HP GreenLake. It's completely free. You can do it today right now by visiting that link, and you can test drive and see a little bit behind the scenes of the various cloud services that are offered alongside HP GreenLake for disaster recovery and HP GreenLake for backup and recovery. So how do these two solutions come together, and what do they provide? They provide that complete data protection with HP GreenLake, giving you the right protection for the right workload, for the right SLAs. We know that these are aggressive RPOs that HP GreenLake for disaster recovery are providing, and it's not right for every single workload in your data center. This is exactly where our complete data protection portfolio comes into play. For those tier 1, tier 2 apps, the most mission critical servers, you can use HP GreenLake for disaster recovery to achieve those stringent SLAs and then add the backup for your entire digital estate. You get the full spectrum protection with long-term retention and archiving that can stretch you for years. Of course, there's always going to be overlap where you might have some routine restores or operational recovery where pulling from either the journal or your backup copy might be equally fine. But with both, you get the combined power of two best-of-breed solutions in a unified portfolio. So that can tailor protection to each workload, can tailor each SLA depending on their exact needs. And last, it's all backed by HP storage, compute, and networking. So you can leverage composable data protection to build the strategy your business requires. So to drive it home, HP GreenLake for data protection, you can get the protection you need for application workloads effortlessly. You can secure your data against ransomware and other cyber attacks, and you can recover from any disruption in a cost-efficient approach. So if you missed it earlier today, we had HP GreenLake Day for storage, where our two products, Ashwin and I's, were discussed, and as well as two other products in the Data Services Cloud Console, HP GreenLake for file storage and HP GreenLake for block storage that can all be consumed as a service through HP GreenLake. Go check it out. We met with a lot of partners, analysts, and talked about what these are doing to disrupt the market. And this was a live broadcast, so you can go back and watch now to see what we had to say today. And then otherwise, if you're dying to see us in person, I hope you guys can join us this summer. We have HP Discover 2023 in Las Vegas, June 20th to 22nd at the Venetian. Very nice if you've not stayed there. But also be on the lookout from some of your reps. You might get invited to some of these additional programs. We have the Partner Growth Summit and the Executive Summit in conjunction with Discover this year. So make sure you check your inboxes for that. All right. Well, I hope I see you all in Vegas. Thank you so much for this time.
Thank you so much. And I wish we could keep going, guys, because there's a lot more questions in the queue. And I know you really struck a chord with the audience here today. But unfortunately, we are going to have to leave it there. And I want to just very quickly ask you, you mentioned a few ways to get involved, get to know you guys a little bit better. Vegas, that sounds great. Yes, I'm in. But for somebody out there that has not already booked their ticket to Vegas and jumped on board, you know, what do you recommend as the very first step? Is it that demo? Is it reaching out to the team? What's step one?
I think step one would be to view the demo, and I think Kylie has given few links in her session earlier. Step two would be also to try and buy the service. You can evaluate HP Backup and Recovery Service for 90 days, and you can also preview the HP GreenLake for disaster recovery. So that would be the starting point. And if you have further questions, please let us know. We'll be happy to answer them.
Yeah, that's great. All right. Well, Ashwin, Kylie, thank you so much for being here with us today. It's been a really fun conversation. I know we've all gotten a lot out of it, and looking forward to chatting with you both again soon.
Thank you, Jess.
Thank you.
All right, and for everyone out there, you can see that we've got that poll question up for you. What additional information you would like to get about the HPE solution? So take a second right now, click on that poll, and let the team know how they can follow up with you. Again, this is hitting the easy button. There's lots of information out there. It can be hard to sort through and to know exactly what you want. So right now, just select all the things you want, add them to your cart, and then HPE will send them right to you. So this is the best kind of online shopping because it's totally free, shopping for data. So go ahead, click on that poll and let HPE know what additional information you would like. I'm also going to suggest that you go over to the Handouts tab and click on the HPE link. You can get the resource Protect, Recover, and Secure Your Data with HPE GreenLake for data protection. It's going to explore how this solution is going to allow you to protect your data for every SLA. So from simplifying backup and recovery options to mitigating ransomware threats, DR, and long-term cost-effective data retention. This is all really fascinating, really important stuff. So please do open that tab, save that for after we wrap, because we're going to keep moving things along here. And that's right, it is time for another prize giveaway. So we have two prizes now. I'm going to do the $300 Amazon gift card and the iPhone 14 Plus. I will remind you that you do need to be here and present with us at the MegaCast. Our next winner of a $300 Amazon gift card is Alejandro Briano. Sorry, my computer was hiding that. Alejandro Briano from California. You have won a $300 Amazon gift card. And Scott Harris of Illinois. Scott Harris of Illinois, you have won an iPhone 14 Plus. So congratulations to both Alejandro. I'm sorry. I've been saying that Alejandro and it's Alejandra. Sorry, my bad. If you were confused out there, I'm reading tiny print here. Alejandra Briano of California, you have won a $300 Amazon gift card, and Scott Harris of Illinois has won an iPhone 14 Plus. Excuse me as I zoom in on my screen. Congratulations to Alejandra and to Scott on your prizes, and keep in mind we will be following up with all winners after we wrap. Also, that best question card coming in at you. So please get those questions in. We will be reviewing all of the questions asked after we wrap, and we will follow up with all of our winners.
All right, and up next, we have a very cool team that I know we are all excited to get to know a little bit better. So without too much ado, I will get this intro over with and let our expert speaker take it away. Now, up next, we are going to be hearing from Danielle Russell, Head of Product Marketing at Nudge Security. Danielle, thank you so much for being here with us. I am very excited to hear what's happening at Nudge Security, so I will take a step back and hand the mic right on over to you. Take it away, Danielle.
Hey there, I'm Danielle Russell, Head of Product Marketing here at Nudge Security. And for the next 25 minutes or so, we'll be talking about ways organizations can assess and protect their modern SaaS supply chains. This is one of the things we do here at Nudge Security. With our ability to discover every SaaS application any employee has ever created in your organization. More on that in a bit. Let's take a look at what Nudge Security is. So Nudge Security was founded by Russell Spittler and Jaime Blasco, two folks who have been working together for over a decade in the cybersecurity industry. Prior to Nudge Security, Russ and Jaime founded the Open Threat Exchange, which is the world's largest open threat intelligence sharing community with over 200,000 participants today. For Nudge Security, we have a strong network and community of luminaries in the cybersecurity industry who are helping us to tackle one of the most challenging problems of cybersecurity today, which is shadow IT and the people who make it, your employees. Now, when we talk about shadow IT today, we're not talking about secret servers that are sitting under someone's cubicle desk. What we're talking about is all of the SaaS applications that any employee can spin up using a corporate credit card or even just an email address. And from a business perspective, the ability for employees to reach for a new SaaS tool to turn a week's worth of work into an hour's worth of work with a $50 a month subscription is pretty great. It unlocks productivity, it unlocks collaboration and agility, and that's been really necessary over the past few years. You know, today, employee-led SaaS adoption is really the rule rather than the exception. From an IT and security standpoint, this is a big challenge, though. It really has disrupted our traditional top-down IT procurement processes and IT request workflows that we rely on to get visibility and an understanding of what we're using in our organization to run our business. And without this centralized visibility, it's really hard for teams to know where their data is located, what's in scope of compliance, what is in line of a critical business process, what their real attack surface actually looks like, and along with that, what's actually in their supply chain. And so we see managing SaaS adoption as really the core challenge of modern security. And it's one that really calls for a new approach to the way we govern and manage and secure all of the technology and all of the IT that we're using across the organization. Our traditional methods just really haven't kept up with this new employee-led SaaS adoption world. When we rely on network-based tech like firewalls and even CASBs to understand what folks are using, we're left with pretty low fidelity, low context data that doesn't give us a full picture of how, when, and why folks are using different SaaS applications. The other types of efforts and approaches that we see organizations commonly take to get a handle of all of their shadow SaaS is by mining expense reports, training employees, creating policies, or really just chasing folks down and asking, are you using this? Why are you using this? All of these methods are very manual, they're very expensive, they're very time consuming, and they don't give us the information that we need in order to really understand what is our SaaS estate, what does it look like, and along with it, what is secure and what does the supply chain look like. So we really do need a new approach to this challenge. When we talk about more specifically the attack surface and attack surface management, this is one of the core functions that IT security teams have long provided as part of their organizational charter. Attack surface management traditionally is the process of identifying, evaluating, and reducing vulnerabilities and potential entry points that cyber attackers could exploit in order to gain unauthorized access or control to an organization's assets, systems, and data. And that last point, assets, systems, and data, traditionally, this really represented known and managed IT, kind of a finite set of enterprise applications and infrastructure that was either hosted on-prem in a data center or in the cloud. But when we think about today and how employees are introducing new technology at a clipping rate, we can start to open that aperture and realize that the modern attack surface is actually much bigger. Organizations are not only contending with vulnerabilities and vulnerability management, but also third-party risk management, the vulnerabilities and the risks that their SaaS providers and vendors bring into their organization. Along with it, they have exposures like publicly discoverable SaaS applications, things that attackers might be able to target and associate with your organization and discover over the internet, along with registered domains and insecure social media accounts. We also see a lot of high value assets or crown jewels moving into different SaaS environments, including your source code, cloud infrastructure, artifact hosting. We also see organizations using more financial and HR SaaS applications that might house sensitive financial information or employee data, as well as file sharing services that might house sensitive corporate IP, and a slew of customer data applications that may hold your customers' information. In addition, the modern SaaS attack surface also includes supply chain risks. We'll look a little bit more closely about those in just a minute. But this is not only the third-party risk and breaches that might affect the suppliers that you're using to run your business, but in turn, your fourth-party suppliers or the suppliers of your SaaS suppliers. Those can really represent big points of risk and vulnerability for your organization that need to be managed. SaaS to SaaS integrations and connections are also another area that we need to consider, especially given that low code and no code tools in OAuth make it really easy for any employee to connect and share data across multiple SaaS applications. We took a look at kind of the state of this modern SaaS attack surface using our own product data in order to benchmark and baseline some of these data points. So just want to go through this a little bit to get an idea of kind of the scope of this modern attack surface. We found from our install base that on average, organizations have 13 publicly exposed SaaS apps. So again, those are SaaS applications that could be easily associated with your brand, with your organization, and can be discovered by adversaries over the internet. Along with that, we found 23 registered domains on average, but honestly, some of the outliers can have up to thousands of domains that are registered by employees across the organization and oftentimes across multiple different domain providers. On average, organizations also have 122 different social media accounts, and we've seen recently how misinformation and fraudulent activity in social media accounts can have a material impact on businesses, including stock prices. When it comes to source code, what we found is that organizations on average use 3 or more different SaaS providers for code repositories and artifact hosting. Also, 50% of cloud accounts are unmanaged or not within a centralized governance environment like an AWS organizations account. And these are often places where, a developer might spin up a testing account, start experimenting with a cloud account. They might leave the organization and take those root account credentials with them. They might forget about it or abandon it to be left for, a crypto miner to find, or those unmanaged accounts can find their way into then production environments that without the security controls that would be provided in a centralized governance manner. So we also found 5 different file sharing applications within organizations. And when it came to the SaaS supply chain, we found that organizations on average have 6 different data breaches every year somewhere in their SaaS supply chain, whether they know it or not. We talked a little bit about those OAuth risks that connect SaaS applications to each other. We found that 10% of those are considered high risk. And then on average, just to give you an example of how many grants and scopes folks are kind of connecting, we found that there are upwards of 10 different SaaS providers or SaaS tools that are connected into an organization's GitHub account on average that represents other tools that have access to maybe source code environments. So this modern attack surface, you can start to get a sense of what goes into it and what the scope is of it. But it also looks a little bit different than the traditional attack surface in a few different ways, and which make it really difficult to manage. So first of all, it's really dynamic. When you think about the fact that employees are introducing, a new SaaS asset or a new SaaS account at about the rate of maybe one account every 20 minutes in an organization of about 1,000 people, these things are pretty amorphous and somewhat ephemeral. It's also more decentralized, as I talked about before. So you've got more individual employees, business units, small teams, maybe in remote locations that are empowered to make decisions about what technologies they need to use in order to get their work done. All of this makes it really difficult for centralized governance teams to first gain and then maintain continuous visibility as this attack surface changes shape. And then even if you do have full visibility of everything that your organization is using in the way of cloud and SaaS services, every SaaS application has its own set of native security configurations and settings. I like to think that they're almost like they're each a snowflake. And so it can take a lot of time and a lot of manual effort for a small centralized team to actually properly secure and lock down every single one of those SaaS applications. Centralized governance is becoming more and more challenging in this environment. And just to underscore, our data found that the rate of SaaS adoption is increasing. As I mentioned, at a 1,000-person company, we're seeing upwards of 60 new SaaS accounts being introduced every single day. That's about one SaaS account every 20 minutes. And really, there's not a good way for centralized teams to be able to properly manage and govern and secure it all. Let's look a little bit more closely at the SaaS supply chain. According to Gartner, they predict that 45% of organizations worldwide will have experienced attacks on their software supply chains by 2025. And this is an area that has garnered national conversation and national discussion, especially because the Biden administration, the White House, has put out an executive order calling for improving the nation's cybersecurity. And as part of that, they've provided guidelines recently that any company doing business with the federal government should provide a software bill of materials for the government. So this is an area where what we're seeing is a lot more conversation about how do we start to protect, identify, and really secure all of the different components that are involved in our supply chain, specifically our software supply chain. Just to give you an idea of what the software bill of materials is, if you haven't heard of that before, what this is a list of all of the components and dependencies that are used in building a software application. So it's somewhat akin to the parts list of a physical product, or maybe even the ingredients list on a food packaging label. It provides a complete inventory of all the third-party and open source software components that make up an application, along with versions, licensing information, and other important details. And so the SBOM is really an approach that organizations and collectively the industry is pursuing in order to really start to understand what are all the things that are going into the technology that I'm using in my organization, my third-party providers, what are they using in terms of open source packages and whatnot in order to deliver technology. I would argue, though, that the modern supply chain is not just a collection of open source packages and components, but more so SaaS providers as well. And I want to give some examples of this. So what we have seen recently is attacks against development-oriented tools like CodeCov and Signal, CircleCI, and most recently 3CX, where attackers are really targeting SaaS providers that are in that supply chain or that are providing technology to other technology companies in order to build and deliver services. And so when we think about the role of an SBOM, that's one component of it, but we also need to have visibility of all of those SaaS providers that are involved in delivering technology. And not only delivering technology, but all of the other areas of our business as well, whether it's within a CI/CD environment or a development environment, or whether it's within a sales or marketing organization or some other part of the business. Having a handle on the SaaS supply chain is really key, because this is a supply chain that's currently under attack because of its amorphous and complex and low visibility traditionally manner. We see adversaries like the Lapsus group who are taking advantage of this environment in order to move laterally across the SaaS supply chain in order to hit high value targets like Uber and Okta and Microsoft and Samsung. And unfortunately, if you look at the activities of the Lapsus group, you'll see that they use relatively unsophisticated methods to gain that initial foothold into the supply chain. They might bribe or use social engineering tactics to gain credentials and then move laterally to high value targets. So how does Nudge Security help organizations, help our customers manage this modern attack surface, and more specifically, some of the SaaS supply chain risk that we just looked at? Well, first of all, the way that we do this is quite simply, we help our customers to see every single SaaS application that any employee has ever created within their organization, regardless of when or where they created it, regardless of network, regardless of what device they were using. And we do all of this in just a few minutes. So we can start to build this SaaS inventory initially, both historical and then also continuous for organizations. So as this attack surface changes, we can start to understand and be alerted when new applications are being adopted across the organization. From there, what we do is we start to layer in our own risk insights. We provide information about every SaaS application. We help understand what that SaaS provider is, what its security posture looks like, and also what its breach histories look like, and most importantly, what its own supply chain starts to look like. And we'll take a look more closely at that in just a minute. So with all of this inventory and with all this visibility, we can start to help organizations to not only get a better sense of what are all the SaaS tools they're using in their environment, but then in turn, what are all the SaaS tools their SaaS providers are using in order to run their business, and start to alert to things like breaches and risks as well. But what we realized fundamentally is that even with this information, it's still a long effort, a long tail of effort for small centralized IT and security teams to be able to really protect and secure and lock down this entire SaaS estate. And what we realized is we need to, in order to do SaaS security at scale, we really have to start enlisting the people who are introducing the technology into our organization, which today is individual employees. And so a key component of Nudge Security is we actually use this inventory as a way to trigger automated engagement and start to guide employees to make better decisions and adopt better behaviors around SaaS security in the moment as they're doing it. So things as simple as, hey, you just started using this new application. Now is the time to enable MFA. Not, hey, remember 6 months ago when you did a training session and we talked about the importance of MFA. No, we saw you just adopted this. Let's, here's a nudge to go turn that on. So we've found that there are a lot of simple and effective things that employees can do that as the app owner or as kind of the citizen admin of those applications, we can start to ask them to do some things to help us to better secure this estate. We just haven't ever done that before. And so that's what Nudge Security is starting to change and starting to do within the organization. Let's take a closer look at some of the supply chain risk insights that we provide. So what you can see here is an example of the security profile that we provide for every SaaS provider that we discover in your environment. So this is an example for Loom. The first thing we'll do is we'll automatically categorize the SaaS provider. So we can tell you, is this an IT tool? Is this a productivity tool? Is this a personal dating app that really shouldn't be in your SaaS estate? We automatically categorize and then describe those apps for you just to help you shortcut and get a better understanding of what is in your environment that much faster. We can also tell you some salient information about the organization, including where it's headquartered, which security attestations and certifications the organization has that we've been able to discover, whether or not the organization has a bug bounty program, vulnerability disclosure, and then from there we can also start to tell you about the organization's breach history. So any breach disclosures, we'll also provide that and then alert you to new breaches as they are disclosed. And then finally, as I mentioned, we're providing supply chain insights. So we can start to tell you for each of your SaaS providers, what are they using in order to run their business, giving you an early warning system and a way to really start to understand, are we in the blast radius of a headline breaking SaaS breach? We might not know whether we're using it or whether our providers are using it in turn. What we do is not only do we provide this visibility on an individual SaaS provider basis, but we've also built a SaaS attack surface dashboard that gives you kind of a comprehensive view of all of the critical and high priority places that you would want to monitor as part of your SaaS attack surface management program. So this includes things like externally facing applications. We can show you what attackers can find out about you and your employee SaaS use over the internet. We'll also show you all of your social media accounts, who has access to those, as well as all of the domains that have been registered by employees across your organization. You can see here in this tab, what we're showing is all of the places where you might have sensitive corporate data or your crown jewels across different file sharing services, different HR applications, different finance SaaS applications, as well as customer management. So again, we're able to automatically categorize categorize these and then show you who has accounts. Are these tools that we generally find on our approved list? Are they not permitted? Are they ones we need to investigate and dig into further? We'll also show you cloud infrastructure and different code repo tools that you're using, as well as your supply chain. So we'll show you breach histories, not only for your SaaS providers, but also your fourth party providers. So even if you're not using them directly, we can show you if you are in that potential blast radius of a SaaS supply chain attack, so you can take the appropriate steps. And maybe that's as as simple as notifying all of the users of that account to say, hey, looks like we use a tool that uses another tool that just got breached. Be extra vigilant in case you get any email or communication from those providers. This is an example of the breach notification that our customers receive whenever we discover a new breach in their SaaS estate. So this is in a recent Loom example. And you can see here, this customer has 3 accounts for Loom in their organization they're using directly. And in addition, they use 6 different applications that also use Loom. So they might want to take appropriate action there. So just to summarize, with Nudge Security, what we're helping organizations to do is to really understand their SaaS attack surface, to start to monitor it and to start protect it by working with their employees and not against them. And the way that we do this, the beauty of it is you can get started in just a few minutes. We take one integration point with your corporate email domain. So it takes about a few minutes to sign up in order to start generating that continuous SaaS inventory and discover new assets as they are being adopted in near real time, and then starting to layer on more visibility around security, compliance, and risk postures, including breach alerts, and then finally using all of that to really engage employees and nudge them towards helping you to protect this attack surface in a more meaningful way. The best part is that we have a free trial that you can get started with, and then super transparent pricing after that. So if you go to our website right now, you can get started with a free 14-day trial without any credit card, any commitment, not even a sales phone call. You can get in and start exploring this for yourself. And then after that, it's a pretty straightforward $3 per mailbox per month pricing with ELA pricing for larger enterprise organizations. And that's it. So I'll leave you with this. There's no reason not to go start a free trial right now. It's pretty easy and low risk to get started. If you're not really ready to kick the tires yourself, but want to have a call and learn more about Nudge Security, please go to book a demo, and we'll talk soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much to the Nudge Security team. That was just such a great presentation. And I know a lot of us were really excited to hear a little bit more from that team. And that was new to a lot of folks out in the audience. I saw a few people chiming in with some high fives. Rolando and Prasad wanted to say, hey, this is really great. And that hadn't been on Rolando's radar, and now it is. So that's really exciting when we see getting to know new friends, right? So glad to hear that. Now there's a poll up on the screen wondering what additional information you would like to get about the Nudge Security solution. So take some time right now and click on that poll. Let Nudge Security know what additional information they can send your way. Obviously, there's a lot more to cover here, a lot of information. So you want to make sure that you're getting the most out of these sessions. And the easiest way to do that is to click on that poll. Let them send you a little brain memory jog once we wrap up here. So make sure you're clicking on that poll. I'll also suggest that you head on over to the Handouts tab. Now, Danielle was just mentioning the free trial. And you can actually click on the link right there in the Handouts tab, head on over to get that 14-day free trial started with Nudge Security. So if it's something you're interested in, click right now, open that up. Might as well give it a try, right? The best way to get to know a solution is to spend some time playing around in the sandbox. So go click and start exploring. Now while you're doing that, we're also going to give away a prize. So a reminder that you do need to be here live and present with us at the MegaCast. Our next winner of a $300 Amazon gift card is Jay Zemer of Michigan. Jay Zemer of Michigan, you have won a $300 Amazon gift card. As always, we will be in touch about claiming your prize after we wrap, and also keep those best questions questions coming in, and we will decide on the absolute best one that's going to get that best question gift card in response. So we are reviewing all of those after we wrap, which means that you can get those questions in, and even if we don't get to them in a live discussion, you're still entered to win. All right. Well, with that, here we are. And, I know that I say this every time, and somehow every time I'm surprised. I thought today was going to be a little bit of a struggle because I'm feeling under the weather, and I thought it was going to be a slog to get through. But this day has just absolutely flown by. There's been so much great information, so many cool stories and interesting insights, and I hope you're all feeling the same way. So I know it's a bit sad to come to the end of our presentations here, but on the plus side, we are ending on a great note here. I am very excited to introduce you to our very last presenter of the day, and that is, of course, Andy Fernandez, Director of Product Marketing at Haiku. Andy, thank you so much for being here, for joining us today as our grand finale. I am always excited to hear what's going on with you and the Haiku team. So I'm going to hand things on over to you. Take it away, Andy.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's session here with Haiku. The title of the session is Multi-Cloud Data Protection as a Service. My name is Andy Fernandez. I'm the Director of Product Marketing here at Haiku. Throughout this, you may have a ton of questions, and I will make sure to answer them either live or on the chat as well. But if not, feel free to send me an email as well. I would be very happy to talk to you. This session obviously will be recorded, and we'll be able to provide a copy of this your way as well. We don't have much time. Let's get started. I'm going to get right to the point. Do you guys remember the good old days? Do you remember where we were 15 years ago, 20 years ago, where all infrastructure and business applications were managed on premises? What this really meant was you on the IT side specifically, especially whether you're a VP of IT and admin, everyone in the IT organization had full visibility and control of not only the infrastructure, the services that were being used, but also the business applications that were being used. These were relatively easy to secure, right? You had a castle that you had to protect, but you were also responsible for data protection for all of this. You had backups available, right? These were the days where things were very simple. There was a very direct line of responsibility and visibility into the applications that were powering a business. Now, today's reality is, if we remember what we just spoke about, on-prem, you had full responsibility. And with that responsibility, though, came robust set from an administration perspective, where you have backups available, right? Strong, strategic, secure, reliable backup, whether it's physical server, VM backup, and tape as well. You were able to retain data long term. You were able to follow the 3-2-1 rule in a very straightforward way. And ultimately, you could also protect this with an air-gapped immutable copy. But where do we stand today, right? When you think about on-prem infrastructure, it's never going to go away. But what is going to go away is a full reliance on on-premise for all types of services. Now, you still have your traditional infrastructure that you have to protect, right? You have maybe, for example, still some physical workloads. There might be some high virtualization rates as well. But when you think beyond IT, when you think about your business, people started taking the cloud very seriously about 5 years ago, where people were not only using it from a storage and archive perspective, but they started modernizing their applications. And what this meant is the moment that not only you've lifted and shifted, but you started modernizing your applications, you're now in the world of database as a service, as PaaS as a service. Something that you had full control on-prem is now in the cloud, and it has several microservices attached to it. But not only that, we've seen a complete explosion of the use of SaaS applications. Anyone with a credit card is able to provision a SaaS application that is extremely important for the business, right? We're talking marketing, legal, HR, engineering, finance, all of these different business applications and types that can easily be provisioned within anybody in the organization. But the real reality here is that we've always known that we have to protect on-prem infrastructure. But it gets a little bit confusing in the public cloud. Not only the public cloud infrastructure, but cloud services and obviously SaaS, where there is a shared responsibility model, where they are responsible for the service and maintaining availability, that you have access to the service, but you are responsible for the data on that service. That applies to cloud infrastructure, it applies to PaaS, DBaaS, and SaaS, of course. But here is the challenge. On-prem, you were responsible, but you have all these tools available to you to easily manage and protect and retain data for a long period of time. When you look at especially SaaS and even the cloud services, they're very limited backup options. You have some that allow you to export, they give you scripts to be able to do so, but it's nowhere near the enterprise class backup that you had on-prem. It's also extremely difficult to manage serious long-term data retention. Offsites start becoming a challenge in the public cloud, the same with SaaS. And ultimately, you also have very limited immutability. Now, I know that when it comes to cloud infrastructure, of course, the AWS, the Azures, the Google of the world, they do provide you the ability to script things and create your own snapshots. But that starts to get a little grayer when you get into cloud services. And that doesn't apply remotely to SaaS applications as well. So the reality that we live today is you have much less control of where your data is, but you also have much less of an ability to be able to protect it. Now, you may ask, well, I shouldn't be really worried about these SaaS applications, but just like your applications on-prem, SaaS, DBaaS, PaaS, they are all susceptible to the same type of downtime and data loss. The number one enemy of everybody in this room is accidental deletions. These are the things that we all have to deal with on a regular basis, whether it's on the IT side or even your Salesforce admin or somebody on Jira. Accidental deletions happen all the time. In fact, 49% of organizations who use SaaS tools have experienced data loss. But then you also have logical failures, corruptions, even rogue admins, right? General Murphy's Law, where as long as you have an application that humans are interacting with, there's going to be a mistake, data will be lost. And you need to be able to not only protect, but quickly recover. Then you have something even more serious, which is ransomware attack. And ransomware attacks are a bit of a dual threat, because if you are, as an organization, a customer, you are also using a SaaS application. You have two threats that can be placed there. You could have a direct attack on you and your organization via some type of exploit, some type of phishing entry, where your data on that SaaS is encrypted and they've stolen your credentials. Or there's an entire attack on the SaaS application itself, similar to what happened with LastPass, where now you have a supply chain attack that has encrypted your data. And in fact, if you look at the data and the research that we've done, SaaS is the number one target for ransomware attacks with a 52% success rate. It's pretty obvious to think about, right? A lot of these applications are not managed by IT. Therefore, you probably are not seeing the same type of data protection and security standards being applied. And then ultimately, you also have compliance regulations, right? Data governance. How long are you retaining data? Can you show demonstrable recovery? Are you keeping this off-site? Can you recover from ransomware? If you're in financial services, if you're in healthcare, if you're in legal, if you're in all of these different protected spaces, when you're using SaaS applications, but also cloud infrastructure and cloud services, your organization may be in danger. Now, there are going to be three core areas that we're going to talk about, and then we're going to position how Haiku can help you. But there's three main challenges with this new world that we live in of not only having to manage on-prem infrastructure, but also public cloud infrastructure, cloud services, and obviously departmental SaaS. And the problem, the first one, is lack of visibility. If you look at the data, it's actually pretty startling. Just in the US alone, there are over 17,000 SaaS applications. And in fact, the average mid-sized organization has 217 SaaS applications, 23% of which are actually paid for and managed by IT. You cannot protect, you cannot make sure that you're resilient of applications that you do not know even exist. So that's problem number one. Even just having a bird's eye view, right, a topology view of where your applications are and what type of sprawl you're facing. That is challenge number one. Challenge number two is, even if you had visibility, it's very difficult to be able to actually protect these SaaS applications. Now, as I mentioned, there are 17,000 SaaS applications in the Americas. When you think about backup and recovery software, right, data protection, disaster recovery, you have to trust and use the best of the best. These are the people and the solutions that you're trusting with your most mission critical applications and data. So a lot of people look at Gartner and the Gartner Magic Quadrant for backup and recovery to really understand is who's the real deal, who can I trust, who is bringing in value, who is a market leader, who is a visionary. But if you go to that Magic Quadrant and you look at all of those vendors that are said by Gartner, like these are the ones that you should trust, all of them together, there are under 10 SaaS applications actually protected by all of them put together. Yet there are 17,000 SaaS applications just in the US. But let's even use a much more reasonable number. Let's say there are really 500 rock solid enterprise level SaaS applications that are being used today. How are we ever going to be able as an industry to protect all of those? Now think about it. From the SaaS side, as a SaaS company, they do not have data protection expertise. and it shows. You can deliver some type of manual export, maybe some recycle bin functionality, but they're not delivering the backup and recovery that you used to have on-prem. And it's very difficult to truly build that out. It requires expertise, it requires high development cycles. And as a SaaS company focused on growth, do you want to spend your time building backup or revenue generating capabilities? So that's why you're not seeing a lot of backup and recovery options on the SaaS side. But what about on the backup vendor side? Well, it's a linear relationship. All of these backup vendors, what they're doing is they're making decisions based on TAM. Which SaaS applications are going to grow? Which one is it most profitable for us to build? And they build them one at a time. That's why you'll see support for things like Microsoft 365, Google Workspace, because they have a massive amount of users and it makes sense to quickly monetize from the backup vendor perspective. But what about the rest? Who's going to build true, reliable, Gartner-backed backup and recovery for those 17,000 SaaS applications? They're still being used, right? Your organization, you probably have dozens, if not hundreds, of SaaS applications that you're not even realizing people are using. So visibility is one problem. Backup and recovery options for SaaS is another major problem. But there's a third one in mind as well. And let's play this game. Let's simulate and think. Let's say there is each of these SaaS companies is able to give you true backup and recovery, all 17,000. So you have backup and recovery for your on-prem, you have it for cloud services, and you have it for SaaS as well. Well, then you encounter a little bit of a different problem. Because think about today, just how many backup, disaster recovery, archive, long-term retention services and tools you're using just to protect your on-prem and cloud infrastructure. Now imagine if you had to leverage point solutions for each of the SaaS vendors. This becomes an insurmountable problem. It becomes impossible to effectively see, manage, and protect. So those were the three core problems, as I mentioned. One, you have no visibility into what is being used. Two, you have very limited options into actual backup and recovery for the majority of the SaaS applications that you're using. And three, if you even had these options, you still couldn't do so in a way that was easy to manage and a lower cost as well. Now, with that being said, this is where Haiku comes in. And we sought to address these three core problems with several of the releases that we've announced. The first thing that we've announced is something called rGraph to solve for that lack of visibility problem. What rGraph does is gives you a full visual of your entire data estate as a company. All you need is whatever single sign-on you're using, Okta or Azure AD, you're able to sign in, and immediately, within seconds, you're able to completely visualize the infrastructure on-prem, the cloud services you're using, but also the SaaS applications that you're using as well. This gives you a full understanding to see what is my organization doing, what are they using by department, and then you can start to evaluate risk. Is this worth protecting? What happens if I lose data here? Am I compliant here? You can start making these decisions to really start protecting your organization and address this spaghetti monster we've all created with the adoption of SaaS applications. So that's how Haiku solves for challenge number one, which is the lack of visibility into services and applications being used. Now, what about the second one? As we mentioned, within Haiku, we're also a backup and recovery vendor, right? We are a data protection leader. And in the past, we used to do the same thing. We used to build for one SaaS application at a time. But we realized that at this pace, and with the level of investment that would require, it is impossible for any backup vendor to protect the SaaS applications you need. So we decided to turn things on its head. And we recently released the world's first development platform for data protection. And it's called rCloud. And what rCloud is, we've taken the technology that we've mastered, our application awareness, our storage target management, how we're able to deliver very simple automated backup policies, granular recovery, orchestration, technology that has made us a favorite within this industry. And we've decided to open it up via a developer environment, platform integration, and development APIs for these SaaS companies that we then secure, certify, and publish. So what this really means is if you look at all of these SaaS companies that exist today, It would take them years to develop robust enterprise class backup and recovery. But now they don't have to reinvent the wheel. All they have to do is simply leverage our technology, what we've already built, integrate their application, and they're able to release secure backup and recovery as a service for their application. It's purpose-built and native. It gives you granular recovery, UI-based recovery, by the way, offsite and immutable backup capabilities, and users are able to subscribe and protect to them in minutes. So instead of us building backup and recovery for 17,000 SaaS applications, we're enabling and partnering with these SaaS companies themselves to build and for us to quickly solve the problem and that gap that exists. And every single net new backup and recovery service that is developed will be available in the Haiku Protege marketplace, where you as a customer will be able to simply subscribe and start protecting all of these SaaS services. Now, in fact, we've already released the first batch of this. We have the limited availability of the release of Haiku Protege for Google Cloud SQL, Google BigQuery, and Amazon RDS. We're going to continue driving development in cloud services, specifically the database as a service and PaaS world. Well, we've also done it from the SaaS side of the house. We've released Google Workspace, Microsoft 365, which is already available now, but additional SaaS applications like Atlassian, right? Jira Service Management, Confluence, Salesforce, Okta, and this is just the first batch of what we're releasing. We expect to continue delivering native backup and recovery as a service for cloud services and SaaS applications across the world. Now, what does this mean? Well, what this now actually means is not only is Haiku able to give you visibility, not only are we going to be able to provide the backup options for these SaaS applications, but we're the only service, true service, that is architected to be able to manage and maintain all of these different applications and infrastructure as a service from one place. This means that you have one URL, one service, one interface that you go to for backup and recovery, for DR, for mobility, for ransomware protection, and to be able to also have data governance as well. One single service that allows you to be able to protect all of these applications that we're delivering. Now, I've spoken a lot, and I really want to summarize this for you all today. There are three core reasons to choose Haiku to protect your as-a-service data. Number one, as I mentioned, you have data estate visualization. By the way, this will be coming up in a few weeks, and it will be free for you to use. So you're able to identify the problem. You have to admit you have a problem before you solve it. You can visualize your full data estate. Two, you're going to see a continuous release of protected applications because we built the world's first low-code development platform for data protection. So that you're going to see a continuous influx of net new SaaS applications that you're going to be able to immediately subscribe to via our marketplace. And three, we have the only service that is built for multi-cloud data protection in Haiku Protege. This is where you're going to be able to see, manage, and protect all your applications, your infrastructure, your services, and your SaaS applications from one place, so that you're not overwhelmed, that you can focus on making sure that you're protected 24/7, and you can get back to doing something that's driving value to your organization and IT. With that being said, I want to thank you all so much for your time, for your attention. I will make sure to answer all of the questions. What I ask is, if you're interested, just scan this QR code. I also drop a link in the chat, and you're going to be able to register, and we will get on a call and we will show you exactly how to protect these SaaS applications and get you up and running. So I want to thank you for your time, and I have a couple of questions where I can answer now. The first one was, you mentioned there's over 17,000 SaaS applications. How on earth is Haiku going to actually be able to support even hundreds of those? It's a great question. As you mentioned, the R Cloud development platform, think of it as an inverted platform. You no longer depend on Haiku engineering to be able to build out each of these one by one. You have all of these SaaS companies now coming to this platform, and within very quick amount of time, from days to weeks, being able to release native data protection. This will allow us to exponentially grow our coverage throughout the next few months. The next question is, Is this native data protection, or does it require agents for each SaaS? At Haiku, we will never use agents. We will never leverage these plugins. We will only deliver native purpose-built data protection that uses native APIs and allows you to use and leverage a service as it was designed. Question number 3. Is this still exclusively for IT departments, or can the SaaS admins perform recoveries themselves? For example, can our Salesforce admin perform a restore? So with Haiku Protege, right, what you'll be able to use, we have full role-based access control. So as an IT organization, you can make the choice of, do you want to perform these recoveries yourself, or do you want to enable the admins and give them the limited access to be able to restore that specific application? You'll be able to make that decision yourself due to our RBAC capabilities. The other one is, what if I have a SaaS that currently does not have backup and recovery? Will Haiku build it? Well, if you come to us and you say, hey, I am a customer of this SaaS application, we will reach out to that SaaS company and we will say, hey, you have customers who are looking to work and to deliver backup and recovery, and they need protection. We will work with them to make sure that they are on Haiku and that they are developed on the R Cloud platform. Now, those are just a couple questions. I know we have so much more. I'll continue to answer them via the chat, but thank you much so for your time and attention. Have a great day.
Well, thank you, Andy, and agreed. Thank you so much for sticking around to answer some questions on live chat. I know your team's been working hard all the way through your presentation, so lots of good answers going out. Thank you to everyone who asked a question. Here's another great way to get some answers, just by clicking on the poll that you see up on your screen there. So click on the poll, let Haiku know how they can follow up with you. What information would you want? What is most pertinent to the discussion you're having, the research you're doing, wherever you're at in your sort of planning stages at your organization. Okay, so apologies. I'm just going to cough briefly, so I'm muting, but I have not dropped my line. Okay, I'm back. I didn't want anyone to think I had disappeared. I have not left you yet. I will also remind you to head on over to the Handouts tab. Make sure that you've got the Haiku data sheet. Protege, a hybrid cloud data protection solution. This is a quick, easy read. Lots of great info packed into 2 short sheets, so go and check that out. Save that for after we wrap today, which is coming up quick. So poll and handout, get on that. While you're doing that, I'm going to give away our very last prizes for the day. So we have one more $300 Amazon gift card and then another iPhone 14 Plus. These are going to go to 2 lucky winners who are here and present with us at the MegaCast. The $300 Amazon gift card is going to Ryan Coe of California. Ryan Coe of California. And the iPhone 14 Plus is going to Ned Kelly of Virginia. Ned Kelly of Virginia. Now, I always say I'll review all of the winners, so here we go. Let's do it. Sanjana Shah of Maryland won a gift card. An iPhone going to Anna Shirley of South Carolina. A gift card going to David Goen of Hawaii. A gift card going to Sheila Augustine of Nebraska. An iPhone going to Josh Weinstein of Arizona. And a gift card going to Michael Chong of California. A gift card going to Alejandra Brianna of California. And a phone going to Scott Harris of Illinois. A gift card going to Jay Zemer of Michigan, and a gift card going to Ryan Coe of California, and an iPhone going to Ned Kelly of Virginia. So you have all won some awesome prizes. We will be in touch with you all after we wrap, so stay tuned for that. All right. Well, hey, if you're out there thinking to yourself, man, this is a good time, I would like to come and participate on this MegaCast, maybe on a day when Jess is not losing her voice slowly and rapidly throughout or consistently throughout the MegaCast. But, hey, you know, we're here, we're with you, and rain or shine, voice or no. If you would like to come join in the conversation, we would absolutely love that. So shoot us a message at connect@actualtechmedia.com. And we'll get that conversation started and hopefully have you out to present on a MegaCast, an EcoCast, a summit, a webinar, whatever you have in mind. We've got something for you. All right, well, with that, on behalf of the Actual Tech Media team, I want to once again thank all of our speakers from Synology, Spanning, Rubrik, Metallica, Commvault Venture, Hewlett-Packard Enterprise, Nudge, and Haiku for making this absolutely fascinating MegaCast possible. A very special thank you to all of you for attending and asking some great questions. You know I've been joking a little bit about being under the weather, and I really do mean it when I say, coming and chatting with all of you every day, even when my brain's a little foggy and my voice is a little faded, is just the absolute best part of my day. And I enjoy so much hearing all of your ideas, your questions, your comments, your thoughts, the things you're kind of working through. So I want to thank all of you for participating in these conversations and really bringing the engagement and being a part of these collaborative conversations, because that is the point of why we do this, right, is to share that those ideas and that information. Well, again, thanks to all of you. Before you take off, I want to make sure that you mark your calendars and come back to join us. We have a Spring Summit. That's tomorrow. So I have about 12 hours to rest my voice, and then we'll be back at it tomorrow. Now, Spring Summit, Supercharging IT, and I'll give you a little sneak peek. David and I are doing a keynote on spring cleaning. So we'll hopefully pique your interest. Come hang out, talk to us about spring cleaning in IT environments. Come talk about how you can supercharge your IT. It's going to be a really fun conversation. That is tomorrow, Wednesday, April 5th at 11 a.m. Eastern, kicking off a little bit early, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, 8 a.m. Pacific. And I hope that you will come join us for that. I hope I will see you at the summit. If not, an expert series, an EcoCast, a MegaCast, a webinar, so many great choices. Wherever I get to see you again next, it'll be an absolute pleasure. And until then, I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day.